What's up guys, this is your favorite fanfic YouTuber, the Fanfic Majesty, and welcome to another amazing video. You can follow me on Patreon for exclusive stories. 2LF Chapter 21 10,000 Baileys wins the Rain Banquet. Inside the Rain Banquet, big, little. The lively atmosphere at the gaming table is endless. Xia Luo was wearing a suit and holding a cigarette. With his handsome face, his noble temperament exuded from his body. With Karina and Nami in their arms, these two beauties were followed by Vivi, Reiju and Mikita, who looked like noble sons from a certain country. He took out a few chips with relatively large denominations from the chips on the table, and Xia Luo casually placed his bet on the larger ones. Karina and Nami lay comfortably in Xia Luo's arms. They had experienced the joy of gambling. The money came faster than robbery. Just after entering the Rain Banquet, Xia Luo only used 10,000 Baileys to exchange for a chip, and then began to speak incomprehensible words to Nami and the others. What do you mean? Shen Dao's 37 million yuan with 20 yuan back then. Today, Xia Luo, will use 10,000 yuan to win his Rain Banquet. It's not too much. Although Nami and the others didn't understand what Xia Luo said before, they did understand what he wanted to express. Xia Luo planned to use these 10,000 Baileys to win Yu Yan, said the crow. Kedar couldn't sit still and jumped out. There are countless chips on the table now, even too many, and Xia Luo has piled them on the ground. Mainly because he didn't know much about the gambling method, so he chose the simplest bet size. This is also the best item for cheating. Observation Haki can see clearly the signs of the dice rolling with just a glance. The dealers on the table have changed several times, from the ordinary dealers at the beginning to the masters of thousands of skills. Whenever the dealer wants to cheat, Xia Luo will use Conqueror's Haki to accurately adjust the points back before the opening point. The croupier was sweating profusely and opened the dice cup with trembling hands. The points displayed above made him dizzy. Big. He spoke the result with a trembling voice. Some people are happy and some are sad. Most people at the gambling table follow Xia Luo's bets, and only a few people who don't believe in evil choose to bet in the opposite direction. At this time, the dealer turned pale, rolled his eyes, and finally couldn't bear the pressure and fainted. TCH, this is what a master of thousands of arts doesn't know how to do. Xia Luo curled her lips in disdain. In the face of absolute strength, it's better not to show off your hand speed. Da. Footsteps sounded, and a bald man walked not far behind Xia Luo and spoke in an emotionless tone. Our boss wants to see you. The person who opened it was none other than Baroque Studios' #1 killer, Mr. 1 Daz Bonus. The gamblers who were watching nearby noticed the subtle atmosphere, felt something was wrong and ran out of the Rain Banquet quickly. They knew that the boss of Yuyan was Crocodile, the hero of Alabasta. I'm afraid this young man used some unknown method to cheat, and now he has been caught by Crocodile. Before leaving, the punters speculated about Xia Luo's fate, but it was none of their business. Oh, what if I don't go? Xia Luo looked at Daz Bonus in front of him with a half smile. Daz did not reply to Xia Luo's words. Instead, he turned to look at Mikita and said, "Is this your choice?" Mikita shivered, but after thinking about it, she couldn't lose her aura and retorted forcefully. You will not understand Captain Xia Luo's power. I advise you to surrender as soon as possible. I see. Since you have chosen to betray, be prepared to be liquidated by Baroque Studio. Daz closed his eyes, and his palms and elbows slowly began to turn into sharp blades. By this time, all the guests at Yu Yan had left, and now only the casino thugs, Daz and Xia Luo, were left. Then let's start with you. With that said, Daz rushed forward and pointed his knife at Mikita, about to cut it off. Ah, Sir Xia Luo, help me. Mikita squatted down with her head in her hands and shouted desperately. Choke. Just 5 centimeters before Daz was about to touch Mikita, a transparent barrier blocked her face. Devil Fruit's ability user. Daz could tell at a glance that this barrier was made by Karina. Just now, Xia Luo patted Karina on her body. The latter understood and stood up and made a gesture, and the barrier appeared in front of Mikita. You don't think you can stop us by following these people, Daz said calmly. The murderers who have been wandering around the underground world all year round have already dealt with Devil Fruit's ability users countless times. He also has the confidence to defeat these people in front of him. Suddenly, a pair of hands suddenly grew on Karina's body, and then forcibly disrupted Karina's gestures, and the barrier dissipated. Haha. The princess who wants to be the enemy of Baroque Studio and want to save the country. It's really stupid. A figure was sitting on the guardrail on the second floor, and it was Nico Robin. Robin held his chin with one hand and looked at the people below with interest. It's really stupid for just a few people to dare to break into the headquarters of Baroque Studio. Mr. 3, who wore glasses and had his hair tied into a 3, also came down from upstairs. You are so courageous, yo. It's amazing. You, Mr. 2 Bentham, who is wearing a swan coat and looks like a ballet dancer, is walking strangely. Steps out. At this time, all the cadres and partners above Mr. 4 appeared in the Rain Banquet and surrounded Xia Luo and others. Vivi took a step back with an ugly expression, but still gritted her teeth and faced the executives of Baroque Studio. And Xia Luo's attention has been attracted by the system. Ding, crew members can be recruited if detected. Close black lens bracket open black lens bracket Nico Robin close black lens bracket open black lens bracket strength. E plus speed. E close black lens bracket open black lens bracket spirit. D close black lens bracket. Skill. Text Grandmaster, can read text in historical text. Fruit ability. Flower fruit, C. Talent. Archaeologist. Evaluation. A woman with the ability to subvert the world. Close black lens bracket. It's really a good attribute. With the ability to develop flower fruit alone for so many years, it has reached a C rating. The outstanding spirit may be due to the experience of using the fruit over the years. The other attributes are barely adequate, but the skills and talents are unique. You are Xia Luo, the strongest bounty hunter in East Blue who has recently become famous, right? Robin looked at the calm Xia Luo with interest. She didn't understand what confidence this man had to sit there calmly. Although they have seen each other's strength in Whiskey Mountain before, those performances alone are not Crocodile's opponent. Yes, I didn't say hello to you last time at Whiskey Mountain. Now I want to formally tell you. Do you want to leave Baroque Studio and board my ship? Xia Luo looked up at Robin with a smile, but unfortunately the other person's legs were crossed, blocking everything he could see. Haha, if you can leave here alive, I'll consider it. Robin smiled slightly, showing a beautiful smile. Hee, it's settled then. Xia Luo touched Nami in her arms with a smile, and put her other hand on the other person's hand on her waist to indicate that she could let go. Snort. Nami shook her head and stood up from Xia Luo's arms. Alas, this little girl just loves to be jealous. Xia Luo sighed secretly, and then a vast number of Conqueror's Haki swarmed out. Everyone present except rank 123 and 2 fingers fell to the ground, and by the way, the arms made of petals on Karina's body were scattered. The former was also swaying profusely and kneeling on the ground, showing fear. Robin was naturally bypassed by Xia Luo and did not feel the momentum. Even the cadres can't withstand your ability, it's really scary. Robin became more interested in Xia Luo's ability. She had already seen Xia Luo's ability when she was in Whiskey Mountain, and she defeated all the bounty hunters on the island in an instant. But this time it alarmed Crocodile who was deep in the rain feast. This is the same Haki as that old man Whitebeard. Conqueror's Haki. Crocodile gritted his teeth. He now understands what Robin said. The people at Baroque Studio under his command are indeed no match for Xia Luo. Looks like I have to go see it myself. Crocodile stood up from the boss chair, turned into sand and flew towards the Yuyan Casino. Are you interested in trying the strength of the remaining few? Xia Luo said to Karina and Nami who were eager to try. Chapter 22 What is the difference between a man who is not S and a salted fish? Currently, the only combat-effective crew members on Xia Luo's ship are Reiju and Karina, and Nami can only be counted as half of them. But it is still possible to deal with people from this novice village. They all look too weak, only the bald one makes me interested. Reiju pointed at Daz, who was half kneeling on the ground. In fact, even if all the people present were up, they wouldn't be Reiju's opponent. But wanting to try out Observation Haki's dodge power, she chose an opponent who looked most interested in him. Then I'll choose which shemale. He seems to be a guy who uses physical skills to fight. It's a good time to try out the results of his recent training. Ah, you all picked 2 guys who look very good, so I can only choose this guy. Karina looked at the 2 people who had already picked their opponents and had no choice but to choose Mr. 3 Gardino, who looked very weak. However, the opponent's wax fruit's ability is really good. It has similar abilities to Logia, but also has plasticity, plus the characteristics of a candle. This fruit can be said to be better than Kair's Nanuo fruit. Whether it is the stickiness of melted candles or the hardness after solidification, you can play with it. Development that makes a fuss. In the original work, the characteristics of candles were used to block the ability of Magellan, the director of Impel Down, to poison the fruit. Unfortunately, the fruit was given to the wrong person. If it is developed in the hands of strong people, it will definitely lead to a higher realm. It is safest for the fruit of this tricky ability to be placed on the weak, and several strong ones appear in the provinces C. Damn it, I was underestimated and actually sent a few women, Gardino said unwillingly. Stop talking nonsense, these women are not simple things. Daz's face was solemn, and his aura had changed since the time when the women entered the state seriously. Mikita, are you interested in the remaining woman? Xia Luo pointed to the remaining Ms. Sarah with both hands. Michita, who was originally relieved, stood up straight again and shook her head crazily. Hey, I've helped you train in the development of your fruit abilities these days. Why are you still so timid? Captain Xia Luo, don't say such things. I was only a middle-level cadre before, and the gap between me and high-level cadres cannot be made up in 2 days. Michita had already given up on herself, and hid directly behind Xia Luo, closing her eyes and grabbing his clothes tightly. Oh, you are still so timid. This is not okay. I will teach you a lesson when I get back to the ship. Okay, let go first. If you don't let go, I will throw you up and compete with her. Xia Luo was speechless, obviously feeling helpless at Michita's behavior, but these words also scared the latter into letting go. She didn't want to be thrown into a fight. The other 3 people have already started fighting with their opponents. Reiju did not attack directly, but kept using observation Haki to dodge Daz's attacks. This is a good way to gain experience. Nami and Bentham were fighting fiercely, and Nami's physical skills were trained the most during this period. She didn't want to fall too far behind Karina, so she had been training hard, and with Xia Luo's careful guidance, her progress was rapid. Although Bentham's physical skills are good, his speed is slower than Nami's. He can only defend and fight back, but he basically can't touch the hem of Nami's skirt, so he takes the beating silently and passively. When it comes to Karina, it's a one-sided crushing. The ability of the barrier fruit is too incomprehensible, and Baldino's fruit development ability can't even hurt it at all. Even Karina used her obsolete ability to create a sealed space and was sealed inside. No matter how hard she beat, she couldn't break through the defense. In the end, it could only turn into a liquid candle in the search space, but the less space, the less oxygen, and then passed out. Seeing that the remaining two people were basically under no pressure, Xia Luo stopped paying attention. In a flash, he came behind Sarah. Looking at Sarah's slender branches and fruitful fruits, Xia Luo unconsciously stretched out her hand to weigh it. At this moment, Sarah felt her eyes flash, and the man disappeared in front of her, followed by a strange movement on her chest. Looking down, he immediately screamed in panic and jumped away from where he was. "You guy." Sarah looked at Xia Luo, who came behind her in panic. The speed was so fast, he was behind me in an instant, and it was completely different from the same level. Sarah smiled bitterly, with a look of fear in her eyes. Unexpectedly, Xia Luo opposite him gave him a thumbs up. "It's quite good, but unfortunately you don't quite meet my taste, and there's no place for you on the ship. I think what I did just now is a reward for sparing your life." After saying that, Conqueror's Haki went straight to Sarah's head. This time, the latter really couldn't hold on and fell down. "Haha, what an interesting man. Do you like say so much?" Robin watched this dramatic scene amusingly on the second floor, but the next second she became angry. Xia Luo suddenly appeared next to Robin and sat down without any scruples. "Hug the latter." "That's right, if a man is not sesame, what's the difference between that and a salted fish?" When Xia Luo said this, he was very confident and did not think there was any problem at all. What an interesting man. I hope you can really defeat Crocodile." Robin was not surprised that Xia Luo teleported to his side. He still looked calm with a mysterious smile and repeated the previous sentence again. Then he gently broke away from Xia Luo's palm, turned into petals in the air and dissipated, and then condensed into a human form in another place, and Xia Luo did not stop it. "Oh, is this the so-called blackening that is 10 times stronger and the whitening that is 3 times weaker?" Xia Luo looked at Robin's ability with some surprise. The level of development was already quite good, and he didn't even cross his arms. In the anime, Robin has to pose before he can use the flower fruit ability, and he can only use the flower fruit ability without gesturing when he first appears in order to maintain a sense of mystery. Could it be that the power can be increased after making that gesture? In other words, it is possible that the ability can be used without using gestures in the future? Xia Luo looked at Karina with meaning. The latter had the same conditions as Robin to activate the fruit ability. Even if Bartolomeo eats this common finger's gesture, he can only use it with one hand, and then create a barrier to wrap his fist. If it could be developed into an awakened state, perhaps there would be no need for troublesome gestures. Just when Xia Luo was thinking about Karina's future fruit development direction, observation Haki sensed a life form moving rapidly. "Reiju, Nami, the principal here has appeared," Xia Luo immediately reminded the two people below. "Don't say such sarcastic words, can't you see that I'm working hard? This she-male is not weak at all." Nami immediately turned around angrily and yelled. Hee, do you need my help, Nami?" Karina covered her mouth and smiled not far away. "No." Nami refused without thinking. Reiju on the other side opened her eyes after hearing Xia Luo's words. She had always closed her eyes during the battle. Daz felt that the more he attacked, the more frightened he became. The woman in front of him was actually fighting him with her eyes closed, and dodged all the attacks accurately. At this time, he was sweating profusely and breathing heavily. It was really too much pressure from Reiju. But after Reiju opened his eyes, nothing happened to him. Shave. Poison palm. Reiju used his shaver to dodge directly in front of Daz, and slapped his heart with purple poison in his palm. At the same time, a burst of quicksand opened the door to the second floor of Yuyan and rushed towards Reiju quickly. The quicksand also condensed its body during the charge. Crescent-shaped dunes, but this blow was already felt by Reiju. He jumped back and then some backflips to dodge the attack, and then jumped into Xia Luo's arms on the second floor with a powerful leap, and wrapped his arms around his neck. "Captain Xia Luo, I was almost hit just now, but you can still sit still." Reiju tapped his lips with his hand and said in a very seductive voice. Nami and Karina stopped fighting Bentham when they saw Crocodile appearing, and immediately retreated and jumped back to Weiwei. "Crocodile." Vivi looked at Crocodile, who appeared in the hall with a solemn expression and couldn't help clenching her fists. "Hey, is Mr. One still alive?" Crocodile looked at Xia Luo on the second floor opposite with a solemn expression, and asked directly without looking back. "Ahem, I'm still alive, but I seem to have been poisoned." Daz covered his chest and coughed up a mouthful of blood and said with difficulty. TCH, useless guy, Mr. 2, you take this guy down, and I will take care of the rest. Crocodile loosened his collar and said with a look on his face. At this time, Bentham was full of energy but still full of energy. Okay, boss. Datsu-chan, Nigeludio. Bentham walked with strange ballet steps, picked up Daz and ran away immediately, but he didn't forget to take Sarah with him before leaving. As for Mr. 3 Gardino, he didn't care at all because he was in conflict with him. You are the one who just released Conqueror's Haki, East Blue's dual sword swordsman. Crocodile looked solemn, but his tone was extremely arrogant. Haha, Crocodile, I'm very optimistic about you. Do you want to work under me? Xia Luo said to Crocodile with an appreciative tone. Are you kidding? He's just a newcomer to the Grand Line. Do you think you will be invincible if you learn to release Conqueror's Haki? Veins popped up on Crocodile's head. Xia Luo's words undoubtedly angered him. He has been famous for a long time, but the other party is just a bounty hunter who just went to sea, and he dares to talk nonsense here. Desert Sword. The arm turned into a sharp sand blade and flew straight towards Xia Luo. This time it was just a test attack. Chapter 23 Lao Sha and version 1.0 Protective Barrier. Karina immediately raised a huge barrier in front of her. The sand blade directly turned into sand again when it hit the barrier, causing no damage to the barrier at all. HMPH, there were a few moments, but with this little ability, you want to kill Lousy. It's too early for you. Shalon. After Crocodile regrouped his arms, a small sand tornado appeared in his hand, and then he threw the tornado towards Karina. Hey, are you planning to destroy your casino? There are still so many of your men on the ground. Xia Luo let go of Reiju in her arms, and the latter dodged and jumped away. Then he drew out his sword and slashed at it with 2 sword energy, tearing the yellow sand in the sky into pieces. It's okay not to want these useless guys. Facing the 2 sword auras slashed by Xia Luo, he keenly noticed the difference in the sword auras. He did not choose to transform his body into elemental form, but used a golden hook to block them. Are you showing off armament Haki? It seems I underestimated you. Not only have you mastered Conqueror's Haki, but you also know how to use armament Haki's advanced applications. Guys like you don't look like a newcomer who just went to sea. Crocodile frowned as he looked at the scratches on the golden hook. Haha, no one stipulates that newcomers who are new to the sea cannot be angry, right? In my opinion, those guys who go to sea before they have learned Kung Fu are undoubtedly seeking death. Xia Luo smiled happily, and the version 1.0 Lao Sha in front of him was also one of the troops who could in Haki. When Sha Wuikai evolves into version 2.0, can we really have a good fight with him? Huh, just talk about the power. Don't think that knowing armament Haki will guarantee victory. Crocodile sneered and said that he had his own way of dealing with armament Haki users, otherwise he would not have been able to tie with Bullet before. However, he, who had become neglected in fighting, now lacked the keenness of his former fighting genius. Change the place. You don't want your plan to be exposed to the public. Xia Luo gestured outside. Crocodile really didn't want to reveal his identity too early, and the wide sandy field outside was obviously his home field. Since Xia Luo proposed it first, why not do it? His body turned into quicksand and flew outward, and he was not afraid that Xia Luo and the others would just run away. After all, these people were here for me in the first place. Karina, I'll ask you to protect Vivi and the others later. Xia Luo gave instructions, and her figure disappeared instantly, and then Reiju and Nami quickly caught up with Vivi and Mikita. Desert areas outside the city. Crocodile regrouped his body, and Xia Luo's figure instantly appeared opposite him. Humph, just choose this place as your graveyard. Crocodile looked at Xia Luo who was following him and said with a sneer. Haha, it's hard to say whose cemetery it is. But you are depraved enough. After being defeated by Whitebeard, you didn't want to improve your strength. Instead, you wanted to rely on foreign objects. Do you really think you can become the Pirate King just by relying on Pluton? Xia Luo chuckled and started to talk. Crocodile looked gloomy. This guy really knows what he wants and his purpose in this country. This makes it even more impossible to let him leave. Although I don't know where you know my plan, but now I can't let you leave here alive. Crocodile blew out a smoke ring and his face became more and more sinister. A larger sand tornado began to condense in his hand. Take the move. Heavy Shalon. Throwing out the tornado in his hand, the sky was immediately filled with yellow sand, and even the sun in the sky was blocked. This scene is like the end of the world. Desert Diamond Sword. Crocodile has an absolute advantage in this sandstorm, which gives him confidence. Not many capable people can compete here, let alone a newcomer who has just left the sea. Xia Luo's observation Haki immediately sensed the direction of the attack, randomly drew his sword and slashed away. Slash wave. The direct collision between the sword energy and the sand turned into a hurricane and blew away the sandstorm. Following the direction perceived by observation Haki, he teleported over with Xiao. Crocodile gritted his teeth as he looked at Xia Luo who was suddenly in front of him, and chopped off the golden hook from top to bottom. Clang clang almost in an instant, the two exchanged more than a dozen moves. Xia Luo used the sword skills taught by Golden Lion to skillfully slash at every vital part of Crocodile. Crocodile, on the other hand, relied on his rich combat experience to transform into the sand in advance and dodge some of Xia Luo's attacks. If he couldn't dodge in time, he would directly use his golden hook to block it. But the continuous attack of slashes made him unable to do anything but keep turning into sand and resisting. If it were Crocodile in the original novel, he would have lost long ago. That is because Xia Luo's Haki made him wary, not as underestimating the enemy as in the original work, and he continued to retrieve his previous memories during the battle. He is also becoming more and more comfortable in dealing with sword energy attacks. At this time, he has evolved to version 1.5 Laoxia. B0OM. As the battle between the two became more intense, the aftermath of the battle became larger and larger. After an explosion, the sand and dust were flying, and the situation was suddenly unclear. The center of the battle also dented a large area. At this time, the women on the border were looking at the center of the battle. They are really two monsters. Is this kind of natural disaster-like power really achievable by humans? Nico Robin, who arrived here, said with a dark expression on his face. Haha, there are so many monsters in the Grand Line, but these two people are the ones standing at the top. Captain Xia Luo has not yet shown his full strength, he is enjoying the battle. Reiju saw Robin on the side and said with a smile. In her opinion, it was a certainty that Robin would be on board. Now that Xia Luo has asked her to join his team, he will never let her go. Especially for such a beauty with her own personality, Xia Luo is even more unlikely to let her go. She knows exactly how she got on the ship. Still. Not using all your strength? Robin's eyes widened in disbelief. In her opinion, a battle of this level is not all out? Recalling his various provocative behaviors and what Xia Luo said to him, he couldn't help but break out in a cold sweat. Fortunately, he didn't choose to actually attack his crew at that time, otherwise it would be impossible for him to escape from this man's hands due to his strength. But Robin didn't know that even if he did it, he wouldn't be able to cause any harm to Karina. Karina's physical fitness has surpassed the strength of her flower fruit-made arms, which will definitely break the joints. Why, are you now worried about whether you will be killed after your president loses? Don't worry, since Xia Luo said he would let you on the ship, he won't take action against you. Nami comforted her with a smile on her face, obviously because she was scared of Robin's reaction. Haha, if Mr. Xia Luo really defeats President Crocodile, then joining your ship will undoubtedly be a better choice. I can also tell you where Crocodile's treasures are, Robin responded with a smile. If it is true as Nami said, Xia Luo has not used his full strength, then Crocodile's current state, which can only barely cope, cannot be his opponent. Then it's not impossible to get on Xia Luo's boat when the time comes, as long as you can fulfill your dream. Crocodile's treasure? Very good, I approve of you. Nami was also happy when she heard Kabao, and then began to formally examine Robin. Chapter 24. Let's wait until you reach version 3.0. In the center of the battle, a clang sounded again. The smoke and dust were instantly blown away by the airwave. Crocodile used his golden hook to block the incoming sword. Then the two of them retreated to open a certain space. The fight between the two has been going on for some time. Crocodile was breathing heavily, with a bright red color on his arms. He looked more embarrassed than at the beginning, and his physical strength had been exhausted a lot. On the other hand, Xia Luo's aura is stable and her expression is normal, and her clothes are not stained by a speck of dust. From this, we can judge the strength of the two people. You newbie monster, I didn't expect a monster like you to be born in the sea. Crocodile's face was solemn. The previous battle also made him realize how powerful the boy in front of him was. If the stalemate continued like this, there was no way he could win. However, the opponent's combat experience and Haki's strength were both strong. Observation Haki was also well trained and all his attacks were dodged. Now apart from the wide range of moves, he really couldn't think of anything else that could defeat the boy in front of him. Thank you very much for your evaluation. Do you want to consider what I said before? Xia Luo is a calm Kaido with a smile on her face. His current state is in stark contrast to Crocodile. You want Laozi to work for a newcomer like you? Impossible. Who do you think Laozi is? Ha ha ha, this sea never pays attention to who comes first, only strength. If I am strong enough, then why not join me? Ha ha, you arrogant brat, let's wait until you gain a firm foothold in the second half of the Grand Line. Although your strength is not bad, dragging those women with you is still a long way to go in this sea full of monsters. Not nearly enough. With that said, Crocodile turned his arm into a sand blade again and slashed it. Desert Diamond Sword. Facing the attack of the sand blade, Xia Luo grinned slightly and slowly lifted into the air. Lion Majesty. Govern place earth coiling. Several lion heads turned from sand gathered together and rushed towards Crocodile one after another. The sand blades were also scattered under the impact of the lion's head, and the crocodile lion's head was swallowed up, causing the ground to shake. Haha, don't hide Crocodile. The sand's attack won't have any effect on you. Xia Luo in the sky changed her previous attitude and became arrogant. He had already tested Crocodile's strength at this time and had no interest in playing anymore. Crocodile's figure regrouped on the sand. Lion fruit. Damn it, it's actually the fruit of some old guy. News of his death was reported some time ago, and now his abilities have appeared so quickly. Are you kidding me? What is your relationship with that guy? Crocodile roared with a gloomy expression. Haha, if you can take my trick, I will tell you. Xia Luo did not choose to answer his question. The two swords began to condense Haki, and the aura on her body began to gradually increase. Crocodile below felt the power of this aura and gritted his teeth without flinching. The arm turned into a huge sand sword. Go to hell. Desert Great Sword. A huge sand sword rose from the ground, its tip pointed straight at Xia Luo's body. Haha, you came just in time. Slash Wave Purgatory. The ultimate move used to deal with Nagli was used again by Xia Luo. Two huge sword energy flew out, and the black and blue sword energy was attached with thunder and lightning. Your president is going to lose. Nami looked at Crocodile, who was about to fight Xia Luo, with a playful expression. He had seen this trick before. Even Nagli said this was a move that could destroy an island. Although it was a bit exaggerated, this power was undeniable. It may not be a devastating blow to Alabasta, but the area will certainly not be able to withstand his power. Whether Crocodile can survive this attack is a question. After all, not everyone has a Haki as powerful as Nagli. It does seem that Mr. Xia Luo is stronger. Robin watched the desert sword in front of him being dissipated bit by bit under the pressure of Xia Luo's sword energy, and couldn't help but sigh. At this time, Crocodile was already using all his strength to repair the damage to the desert sword. Try your best to block Xia Luo's sword energy. What a joke, how could I be killed by such a brat in this place? Crocodile's whole body rose with momentum, he raised his arms to the sky and kept using sand. The children condense and fly away, but this was only his last struggle. The sword energy continued to move downwards, bit by bit, tearing apart the big sword made of sand, and finally it fell straight to the ground. Boom! With a deafening sound, the ground seemed to be cut into 4 pieces, and 2 huge slash marks appeared. The airwaves kept roaring. Karina had to activate a defensive barrier to prevent herself from being blown away by this wave of air. It's over. Nami said calmly, looking at the scene in front of him. Xia Luo breathed a long sigh of relief, and after the smoke and dust dispersed, he slowly fell to the center of the sword energy. There were 2 huge stab wounds on Crocodile's body, and the blood stained the sand and gravel beneath him red. It took a lot of effort to even breathe. The former great pirate is obsessed with his past glory and neglects to train himself. It's really ugly. Looking at Crocodile, who fell to the ground, Xia Luo couldn't help but sigh. Ahem, stop talking nonsense, kid. Since you win, this head will be given to you. While speaking, blood was still pouring out of his mouth, but his look of someone who would rather die than surrender made Xia Luo look at him. Huh, not interested. Xia Luo put away her sword. What do you mean? Didn't you come here to kill me? Crocodile said with difficulty. Yes and no, the main thing is to test your strength, but it seems that Shichibukai is not a big deal. Xia Luo waved her hand and responded in a casual tone. You are so arrogant, kid. A guy like you is not a pirate. Haha, it's just not for the time being. When it conflicts with Marine's interests, they probably won't tolerate it. By the way, I'm leaving Robin and Michita. Besides, Alabasta doesn't have what you're looking for. Pluton is actually in Wano-kuni. If you have the courage to challenge Kaido, you can try it. After saying that, Xia Luo turned around and walked towards Nami and the others. He is not afraid of what problems may arise if he tells the other party about Pluton. Wait until he really capable of getting Pluton. Xia Luo's strength can already rule the world. Xia Luo, if you don't kill me now, I will definitely make you regret it later. I will defeat you one day. Crocodile turned his head with all his strength and spoke with difficulty. Haha, let's wait until you evolve to version 3.0. You're too weak now. Xia Luo threw his hand back without looking back. Damn it. This little devil. Although he wanted to stand up and fight for 300 rounds, his body told him that he had reached his limit. Returning to Nami and the others, Xia Luo said casually to Robin. Your president was defeated by me. I also asked him for his job. He said that I should take good care of Robin-chan in the future. Robin smiled slightly and did not say anything. Crocodile would not say such things. Then please give me some advice, Captain Xia Luo. Chapter 25 Hairspray Hand. Ding. Recruit Nico Robin as a crew member. Reward skill. Hairspray Hand. Close black lens bracket. Huh? Hairspray Hand. What kind of skill is this? Xia Luo directly became Duduyan. This was the first time he received such a reward. It was neither a combat skill nor a talent, nor was it even a useful item. Do you want me to fight to the end and use a hairspray hand to instantly transform into the second stage villain form? He shook his head to get rid of those thoughts, and then stretched. It was such an enjoyable battle just now. Since Xia Luo debuted, she has tried her best except for the battle with Nagli. Almost all the remaining enemies encountered were killed by Xia Luo. Although Crocodile's strength did not push Xia Luo to her limit, she still had a good fight despite suppressing the use of Conqueror's Haki. I'm hungry. I'm hungry. How far is Vivi from your capital? If we fly there, it will probably take a few hours. Vivi pondered for a moment and roughly calculated the distance. It seems that we can only go back to the ship tonight and wait for the first trip to Alabasta tomorrow. All right. Xia Luo looked at the sky. Nu Okagao and Kayu were still on the boat. If they returned to the boat, it might be night before they reached the capital. So everyone returned the same way, and Nami took Robin to find Crocodile's treasure in the rain feast. After finishing all the crocodiles, we left with satisfaction. It was almost night when we returned to the dock. Gawu. There was a rhythmic sound, which sounded like the sounds of students practicing in the dojo. Following the sound, I didn't know when a large group of kung fu manatees gathered on the coast. Nokagao was on the boat watching the kung fu manatees training below with a smile. As Xia Luo and others approached, the kung fu manatees also noticed the arrival of several people. A human wall instantly formed. Grr. The leader, a kung fu manatee, was making unknown gestures with a serious expression. After finishing the gesture, he looked at Xia Luo and others with his arms folded. What's going on? Xia Luo asked Xia Nuokagao a little confused. HMPH, I don't know. Not long after you left, these little guys suddenly appeared on the shore and were talking about something. I thought they were hungry, so I made some food for them to eat. Unexpectedly, they have been training here. Nokagao didn't know what these kung fu manatees were talking about. After all, there was no one on the ship who could speak animal language and Chopper couldn't translate it. After hearing Nuochigao's explanation, Xia Luo suddenly realized. These little guys won't stay here to protect you because you gave them food, right? He thinks we are bad guys. Xia Luo looked at these cute little guys and chuckled. I don't know, but I can't communicate with them. What should I do? Nokagao covered his forehead helplessly. Ha 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 ha, it's okay. Just knock them all down. Xia Luo rolled up his sleeves and looked like he was about to fight. Seeing him like this, Kung Fu Manatee also became angry, and they all rolled up their sleeves and wanted to fight. He casually knocked away several Kung Fu Manatees that rushed towards him, and then carried out a one-sided beating. It took all the effort to beat the manatee to the ground by Xia Luo, but since Xia Luo didn't use much force, there was still no problem with his life. But just as Xia Luo was about to walk back to the boat, the Kung Fu Manatee who was the leader at the beginning reached out tremblingly and grabbed Xia Luo's trousers. Xia Luo looked down in surprise. Unexpectedly, there was one person who hadn't fainted. It seemed that he had good physical fitness and willpower. Kung Fu Manatee stood up with difficulty, and then solemnly saluted Xia Luo. As this Kung Fu Manatee wants to worship you as its teacher? Vivi looked at Xia Luo with slightly surprised eyes. She had heard a little bit about the habits of this creature. Xia Luo also remembered that in the original work, Luffy accepted a bunch of Kung Fu Manatees as disciples. Could it be this group? Then I remembered that these sea beasts can actually learn armament Haki and observation Haki, and they will even have good combat power in the future. Xia Luo asked as he knelt down and looked at the Kung Fu Manatee in front of him. Are you going to take me as your teacher? Ga ga ga. Kung Fu Manatee looked at him with firm eyes and nodded. Haha, it's interesting, but I have no plans to accept a disciple. Gov. Kung Fu Manatee looked at Xia Luo with its cute big eyes, like this. No matter who you look at, you will feel pity for me. The first person who couldn't stand it was Nami. She walked up to Xia Luo, hugged his arm and said in a deity tone. Just promise him, he seems to really want to become your disciple. Ga ga ga. Kung Fu Manatee nodded. Captain Xia Luo, I think you can accept them. After all, the Kung Fu Manatees are pretty good, right? They can also be sailors on the ship and fight in the sea. Robin suggested with a smile. She liked this cute animal very much, but she just joined it not long ago. So I can only suggest it after Nami speaks out. Well, since you have said so, Nami-chan and Robin-chan, then I will accept you. Gov. Kung Fu Manatee jumped up happily, feeling that its physical strength had recovered a lot. In that case, I will teach you a move, and you can practice it slowly in the future. Xia Luo's expression suddenly became serious, which was his usual teaching style. Seeing this, Kung Fu Manatee also became serious, putting his fists on his waist and making a Zama stance. Xia Luo's fist attached to armament Haki, bowed slightly, and then moved towards. The sea area ahead blasted out in a circle. The fist wind directly blasted a path out of the sea. Gawaha. Kung Fu Manatee jumped up to Xia Luo and hugged his feet in admiration. Haha, this is armament Haki. By accelerating the flow of blood, it accelerates muscle movement and achieves hardening. The more advanced usage is to wrap it around attacks and swords, and then further it can be released externally. As long as you have mastered the realm of entangling and releasing, you can achieve the effect I just had. Xia Luo smiled and explained to Kung Fu Manatee, who nodded quickly and started to practice boxing on the spot. Isn't that what you said, the training method of Marine 6 Style's Iron Body? Reiju vaguely remembered that this principle was the 6 Style Iron Body training method that Xia Luo told him and others. At that time, the evaluation of this skill was that whoever used it would die, and was dismissed as useless. Yes, the Iron Body is the most rudimentary form of armament Haki. If you can use the Iron Body to perform any action while moving, adding chi to it will actually have reached the stage of hardening. Xia Luo still remembers this. As for the evaluation of Iron Body, it is known that all those who use Iron Body will not end well. After all, no matter whether in the feature film or the theatrical version, everyone who uses Iron Body in the end. Everyone was beaten badly. So this is the basic training of armament Haki. Reiju thought thoughtfully. At this stage, Xia Luo has not taught her armament Haki yet. But this energy is probably the most critical thing. After all, hardening alone cannot capture the physical form of Logia demon fruit power. Chapter 26 Fighting Landlords. What happened to Mr. Manatee? Are they all drunk? At this time Kaya walked out of the cabin and was very happy to see everyone back. After walking out, he looked at the Kung Fu Manatee lying on the ground and screamed in surprise. Immediately, he took the medical kit and went down to check it with the Kung Fu Manatees. After some inspection, he found that nothing was wrong and he just fainted, so he breathed a sigh of relief. I learned from others that Xia Luo was beaten like this because of the challenge. The latter scratched his head in embarrassment. Haha, Kaya, I'm hungry. Have you made dinner? Xia Luo changed the subject with a haha, jumped on the boat first, and then gave instructions to the Kung Fu Manatee below. I'm asking you to look after the ship today. Remember to practice well. After saying that, he walked back to the cabin without looking back. This guy is really good at summoning people. Seeing Xia Luo like this, Nami shook her head helplessly and followed her back to the boat. Gah! In the end, only the Kung Fu Manatee's excited cry was left. In the pirate world, although there are many entertainment projects, they are suitable for those on the ship. Very few. After having a delicious dinner, Xia Luo lay bored on the sofa in the lobby and watched various programs on Videophone Bug. But there are no good programs in this world, but Nokia, Kaya and the others watched it with gusto. Helpless, Xia Luo could only invite Karina and Nami to fight the landlord together. This kind of poker gameplay was brought by Xia Luo from another world, which no one has ever played before. After killing for a while, Xia Luo took Karina and Nami back to the room to continue fighting the landlord. In the card game just now, Karina lost some small bets to Xia Luo under Nami's instigation, and now it's time for her to repay it by fighting the landlord. Completely ignoring the other party's seemingly violent struggle and a bit of a desire to welcome and refuse. Nami couldn't stand some of Karina's usual oral pleasures, so she wanted to embarrass Karina, so she encouraged her. The night passed. The early morning hours were the same as always. It's just that there are 2 people missing in the hall this time. However, the other girls were not surprised. Only the girls who were new to the ship, Robin, were thoughtful. After breakfast, while everyone is still in the hall, I want to return to the palace to gather the common people to expose Crocodile's conspiracy. Vivi slapped the table and said with a serious expression. Xia Luo took a look and saw that there were still more than 10 days before the opening time of signing into Alabasta. It seems that there is no other place to go but to stay here. After all, there is not enough time to go back and forth. We estimate that we will stay in Alabasta for more than 10 days. You can spend these days in the palace with your father. Xia Luo said with an indifferent expression. Really? That's great. Vivi also looked happy when she heard that Xia Luo said she would stay in Alabasta for a while. Well, after all, there is something I want to know in Alabasta. Xia Luo glanced flatly at Robin, who smiled back. Immediately afterwards, Xia Luo got up and walked outside the boat. Gawu, the Kung Fu Manatees are practicing their punches on the shore. Seeing Xia Luo come out, they all rushed over and looked at Xia Luo with admiring eyes. Oh, you have been practicing hard early in the morning. You are really diligent. Xia Luo jumped off the boat and was immediately surrounded. The Kung Fu Manatees looked at him with their big shining eyes, each of them only as high as Xia Luo's thigh. It still looks very cute. Gah! A serious cry that was different from other manatees brought Kung Fu Manatee back to his senses. They immediately stepped back and lined up in an orderly manner before saluting Xia Luo. They also changed from being cute at first to being very orderly. Xia Luo counted almost 35 Kung Fu Manatees in total. At this time, the manatee that was accepted as a disciple last night also walked out of them. He stood at the front and bowed deeply. Xia Luo walked up and knelt down and touched his head. Yes, you will need to strengthen your training in the future. Today I will teach you a move that can help you move quickly in battle. Under the adoring eyes of everyone, Xia Luo began to teach how to shave. The physical fitness of these manatees is very good, and it is very simple to practice. Even if the body structure is different, it does not hinder their use. Soon after Xia Luo taught them how to practice, the women also came out of the cabin. Looking at Xia Luo, who was seriously teaching the Kung Fu Manatees below, they also looked at each other and smiled. Xia Luo, do you want to stay for a day? Nami smiled and asked Xia Luo, who was teaching seriously below. Oh, are you all ready? There is no need to stay here. It is better to go to the capital early to finish all the follow-up matters and take a few days off. Xia Luo wiped the sweat from her forehead. The sun had already risen high in the sky. The climate in Alabasta is too hot. If I have to stay here for so long, I'd better go to the palace to feel more comfortable. Gawu, as soon as they heard that Xia Luo was leaving, the Kung Fu Manatees looked reluctant to leave, and squeezed over with their cute big eyes shining. Well, there is no such thing as a banquet that lasts forever. If you really want to see me again, then practice hard as soon as possible. Let's meet again somewhere in this sea in the future. Xia Luo smiled and touched their heads. In the end, the Kung Fu Manatees could only wave their little handkerchiefs and watch Xia Luo and the others leave with tears in their eyes. Since the location of the voyage was uncertain, the sailboat was put into storage by Xia Luo. After packing up everything, we headed towards the royal capital of Alabasta. The capital of Alabasta is Aruba. The time has come to noon. With Vivi's status as a princess, she still had smooth access in the palace, and soon arrived at the hall of the palace. Father. Vivi showed joy when she saw Cobra, the king of this country. Vivi. Cobra stepped forward and touched her head distressedly. It's hard to endure hardships outside. No, this is what we should do for Alabasta. Vivi shook her head and hugged her father. She finally waited for this moment, to overthrow Crocodile's conspiracy and lead the country. The home regains its former peace. Father, go gather the people across the country and let us announce Crocodile's conspiracy so that the rebels will not continue to cause chaos. Cobra nodded in agreement. He also heard from the Kingdom Guard Captain Ikaram that Vivi was looking for a group of powerful companions. He is going to challenge Crocodile. If he can be defeated, the conspiracy will be self-defeating. Now Vivi is standing in front of him intact, which means that the powerful swordsman really defeated Crocodile. He turned to look at Xia Luo, a young and handsome young man. You must be Xia Luo, the strongest bounty hunter in East Blue who became famous all over the world some time ago. I have heard about you. Thank you very much for your help this time, otherwise this country may really fall into the hands of Crocodile. Cobra bowed and saluted. Father. Vivi looked at him worriedly. King Cobra doesn't have to be like this. This is a deal between me and Vivi. Now that the deal is reached, I should also exercise my agreement to defeat Crocodile. Xia Luo reached out to help Cobra, shook his head and said with a normal expression. Chapter 27 Read History Text. Raftel's Road Sign? Hearing Xia Luo's words, Cobra's face flashed with embarrassment, and then he said hesitantly. Your Excellency Xia Luo, I know this is a transaction and cooperation between you and Vivi, but can you change it to another request? Father, please stop saying that. Captain Xia Luo has helped our country. Since I promised him back then, I will fulfill my promise. After hearing what Cobra said, Vivi immediately stood in front of Xia Luo with a serious face and said solemnly. But, Vivi. Stop talking, father. Seeing Vivi's resolute attitude, Cobra had no choice but to agree to Vivi's decision. Vivi also smiled again. Xia Luo stepped forward and touched her head, then asked Cobra. King Cobra, I have a request that may require your help. Haha, Your Excellency Xia Luo, you are Alabasta's benefactor and hero. As long as you need Alabasta's help, we will be there for you. Cobra laughed and agreed generously. It's like this. One of my companions really wants to see some historical texts. Can you let us see the historical texts buried in this country? I know that Alabasta has been guarding a secret about the Queen Neferutari D. Lily who asked you to guard it 800 years ago. Cobra's expression changed greatly. He didn't know how this man knew this. Your Excellency Xia Luo, how do you know this? Cobra didn't understand why the secrets his family had always guarded were known to this outsider. Robin's eyes lit up. Her purpose of joining Baroque Studio was also based on this piece of historical text. She had always betrayed to save her life, and it was the same this time. She chose to take refuge in Xia Luo only because he was strong enough. Although Xia Luo also said that she was interested in historical texts and that her boat suited her well, in her eyes it was just a bargaining chip to attract her. If it comes to threatening her life, she will still choose betrayal without hesitation. Now, Xia Luo actually chose to negotiate with Cobra for her, which made her a little moved. What surprised Robin the most was that Xia Luo actually knew so much about this country. Even the history related to the historical text is known. What exactly did Lily, the queen of this country 800 years ago, ask her descendants to protect? It's really exciting. Unknowingly, Robin's mouth turned up and Kakuzu curled up. About this, I actually know a lot about this world, including part of the historical text and the red historical text. As for how I know this, I have to start with my master. Xia Luo said with a calm expression, putting the blame on Golden Lion's head. Anyway, no one knows how much the Golden Lion knows, but as a great pirate, he must know a lot of secrets. Your Excellency Xia Luo's master? Cobra was a little confused, and then Vivi explained to him about the Golden Lion. Captain Xia Luo, what's going on with the red historical text you mentioned? Robin stepped forward and asked softly. Although she also doubted the authenticity of these things, the red historical text mentioned by Xia Luo still made her curious. The red historical text, that is the road sign about Raftel, the legendary final island of One Piece. Xia Luo looked at Robin's beautiful eyes and casually said the red text of history. What? Raftel's road sign? The girls once again learned this important secret from Xia Luo. Then if we get the red historical text, we can get the One Piece and the biggest treasure in the world. Nami and Karina are back to their old money-grubbing ways. It's not that treasures don't interest them anymore, it's that the small amount of treasures has made them no longer interested. Unless it's a character of Crocodile's level, the treasure of a minor character is just attack. Then do you know where the red historical text is? Nami and Karina looked at Xia Luo expectantly. I know, One Piece is in the hands of each of the 4 emperors. Whitebeard's piece seems to be placed on top of his former 2nd Division Captain Kazuki Oden's National Zoo. Xia Luo smiled and said something very scary. Wah, What, 4 emperors? The two women's excited expressions suddenly dropped. They also knew about the 4 emperors. Even Xia Luo admitted that he is currently no match for 4 emperors. It is simply impossible to snatch the red text of history from their hands. Ha ha ha, I said we were going to travel around the world, and I will definitely go to Raftel, the final island. So the red historical text of 4 emperors is also my goal. Although I can't beat it now, 4 emperors may not be my opponent when I grow up. Xia Luo Haki said. Nami, Karina and Robin's dark eyes all lit up at the same time. Robin originally had no hope when he heard about 4 emperors, but Xia Luo said that he would become so strong sooner or later, based on the information she learned on board the ship. Xia Luo's own physique is very strong. If he can continue to grow like this, he might be able to achieve his goal. But let me say it first. One Piece may not have the treasure you think. The treasure Roger mentioned before his death is actually something else. Xia Luo still gave the two women a dose of vaccination first. Did you also learn this from Golden Lion? Nami asked curiously. That's right. Xia Luo is confident that Kaido, in short, now has to push the blame on Golden Lion, otherwise it will not be rounded. The Roger pirates I knew from my previous life didn't really keep any treasures there. The final island. The most widely discussed treasure is the huge treasure that Joy Boy left behind in this world. It may be related to the liberation of the world. But in Xia Luo's eyes, what is liberating the world? As long as you are strong enough, you can do it whether it is liberating the world or changing the world. There is no need to rely on Joey Boy's treasure. Xia Luo turned to look at Robin again and said sincerely. Robin, I know you don't really want to join this adventure group now, but I can guarantee that this will definitely be the best group you have ever been in. I will help you realize your dream, haha, then I'm looking forward to your performance, Captain Xia Luo. I trust you very much, Captain. Hearing his sincere words, Robin smiled and said with pretense of expectation. In her eyes, Xia Luo's body was always shrouded in a mysterious fog. If Golden Lion really knew so much, he would have realized his ambition long ago. So she concluded that this must be the secret that Xia Luo knew from somewhere. And Xia Luo rolled her eyes secretly. This woman really knows how to act. She is like a movie star. Even now I don't forget to perform, but it doesn't matter, one day you will truly join my fleet. Xia Luo thought confidently. Chapter 28 Vivi comes with me. Your Excellency Xia Luo, you are the savior of this country. If this is your request, I can grant it to you. After listening to Vivi's explanation of the causes and consequences, Cobra thought for a while and then responded solemnly. Xia Luo's strength is very strong. If he really wants to force his way into the search place, there is no force on his side that can withstand it. The army? Those things are just tools to suppress civilians. When it comes to high-end battlefields, things like the army are of no use. One conqueror's haki from the enemy is enough to stun the soldiers with low strength in the army. Not to mention that this was a strong man who defeated Crocodile. Just one Shichibukai could bring their country into such trouble. Now I can't stand a person stronger than Shichibukai making a scene. After thinking about it, it is better to be a favor and agree to Xia Luo's request. Mainly because he learned about Xia Luo from Vivi, and he felt a little relieved after knowing that he was not a bad person. That's great, King Cobra. Xia Luo smiled slightly. If the other party agreed, it would really save him a lot of trouble. If he doesn't agree, he won't force it, but he will secretly explore it at night. Then he accidentally broke into a forbidden area and copied the historical text. Even if it was such a small thing, he probably wouldn't be punished even if he was discovered. What did Xia Luo think? But if Cobra knew his inner thoughts, he would definitely pick up a stick and give him a few blows. You tell me that a secret that a royal family has guarded for 800 years is a trivial matter? Father, then I will tell the soldiers to gather the civilians, and you can take Xia Luo and the others to see the historical text. Vivi raised her hand and suggested. She really couldn't wait any longer. I just want to announce Crocodile's conspiracy to the people immediately so that this misunderstanding can be resolved and the rebel army can be disbanded as soon as possible. Well, go ahead Vivi, I'm sure you can do it. Cobra nodded. He had seen Vivi's growth. She had become more confident and sensible than before. It's a pity that if he didn't go with Xia Luo, then Vivi would definitely be his perfect successor, a wise queen. Cobra watched Vivi walk out of the palace and told the soldiers outside about the task of gathering the citizens. Oh, if Vivi can stay in Alabasta, she will definitely be a wise person. Queen, I would like to pass on the king's position to her. Cobra sighed and said softly, as if he was speaking to himself and to Xia Luo. Ha ha ha, it's okay. I just need to find someone wiser. Xia Luo smiled and patted his shoulder, not showing any signs of indifference. Well, Sir Xia Luo, you don't know. My wife disappeared mysteriously and unexpectedly a long time ago and has never been found. So I have no plans to have any more children. Cobra smiled bitterly. Wouldn't it be nice to have another wife? Why are you worried? Xia Luo felt a little strange. Isn't it normal for the king of a country to have several wives? The women behind Xia Luo couldn't help but roll their eyes at Xia Luo. This guy is a typical playboy, someone who falls in love with someone he meets. There are no other males on this ship except this guy. I really don't understand what environment created this LSP. But what they don't know is that Xia Luo is originally from another world. After being suppressed for so long in the previous world, how could I not want to live freely in this animated world? Of course, conquering the beauties appearing in the original work is one of his hobbies. I am different from you. I only love my princess deeply and have no intention of marrying again. Cobra shook his head, unwilling to mention this matter again. Xia Luo couldn't say anything more, so he could only comfort him. It's okay, just wait until we finish sailing this world and bring Vivi back to inherit the throne. Maybe I can bring you a successor, Xia Luo said the last sentence to herself in her heart. However, Nami and Karina, who are closest to him, have already understood his thoughts. But now they have no idea of stopping him, because Xia Luo's body is too strong and cannot be resisted by the two of them. In this regard, Xia Luo can only say that the steel balloon talent is YYDS. The ant can give birth to so many children because of this talent and physique. Cobra nodded when he heard that Xia Luo would come back with Vivi to inherit the throne. Since Vivi will come back to inherit the throne in the future, it would not be a bad idea to go to sea with Xia Luo now and gain experience. No matter how I think about it, I feel much better. Everyone, come with me. The text of history is in the tombs of the royal families of Alabasta. You can't get inside without my guidance. Cobra took the lead and walked out of the palace, followed closely by the others. After passing through twists and turns, they arrived at the door of a palace, and then Cobra gently pushed a cat-shaped statue next to the door. In an instant, a hole appeared in front of everyone's eyes. Oh, it's so secretly hidden. If you really come looking for it, you may not be able to find it. Looking at the hidden entrance of the cave, Xia Luo couldn't help but sigh. But this sentence happened to be heard by Cobra, and a drop of sweat could not help but leave on his forehead. This cave is a real royal tomb. The space inside is very large, a bit like an ancient Egyptian tomb. Wow, what a big tomb. Even Nami and others were not amazed by the magnificence of this tomb. Walking to the end of the tomb, a huge stone was placed there. There are many incomprehensible words engraved on it. Robin walked forward excitedly and touched the boulder, then opened Shikai to read the contents inside. Everyone watched her interpretation silently. I didn't expect that there are still people in this world who can interpret this kind of writing. Exist. Cobra sighed, thinking that they were just here to read the historical text. Unexpectedly, there are still people in the team who can interpret the text of history. Haha, after all, she is a woman who was offered a bounty of 80 million belly when she was only 8 years old. There will always be some special skills that Marine will be afraid of. Ohara. I have heard of that rumor. The Buster Call many years ago. The Buster Call started by the world government in the name of Ohara's scholars trying to subvert the world. Cobra fell into memories. It turns out that she is the survivor of Ohara who shocked the world back then, the son of the devil, Nico Robin. While Cobra was still shocked about Robin's identity, Robin came over after reading the historical text. Captain Xia Luo, please stop making fun of my identity. Compared to me, the son of the devil, if your identity as the successor of the Golden Lion is exposed, it will probably cause a sensation all over the world. Robin said with a calm expression. After walking back to Xia Luo, he began to record the text of the historical text with notes. Chapter 29: The Origin of Devil Fruit and the Method of Inheritance. The successor of the legendary pirate Golden Lion? Cobra looked at Xia Luo with a shocked expression. He didn't expect that this handsome young man actually had this identity. No wonder he was so powerful. Vivi didn't tell him this, but then she smiled bitterly. Now that Vivi has accepted it, what does she have to say? Well, it's not an easy identity to talk about. If it can be hidden, I really don't want to expose it prematurely. Otherwise, my enjoyable adventure would be disrupted by those marine guys. Xia Luo touched the back of his head and laughed dryly before changing the topic. How about it? Let's finish the analysis. Well, Captain Xia Luo, do you want me to tell you what's inside? Robin closed the notebook and looked at him with an intriguing smile. No need, actually I also roughly know the content of this historical text. Oh, Captain Xia Luo actually knows what is recorded here? Robin was also a little surprised. He didn't expect that Xia Luo would actually know what was recorded inside. Well, it probably has something to do with the location of Pluton, behind the Grand Line. Halfway up an island, we will also go there in the future. Xia Luo rubbed her chin and spoke calmly. He had directly told Crocodile the location of Pluton before, but he didn't know where it was in Wano-kuni or the specific location. But if Crocodile really has the guts to go to Kaido's territory to find the whereabouts of Pluton, he will still give him a high look. Xia Luo is not afraid that Crocodile will cooperate with Kaido. Kaido is the four emperors after all, and Shichibukai is a joke in his eyes. Even if they cooperate, they're just as their subordinate units. A man like Crocodile who dared to face Whitebeard would certainly not submit to others, so he concluded that Crocodile would not cooperate with Kaido. Yes, I didn't expect Captain Xia Luo to actually know the contents. It's really incredible. Robin was really shocked this time. He didn't expect that Xia Luo didn't brag, but actually knew the content. Ha ha ha, actually I know the hiding places of many historical texts and some of their contents. The island we are going to next will also have a piece of historical text. If I remember correctly, it should be about Poseidon's hideout. Hearing this, Xia Luo put her hands on her hips and laughed, with a hint of pride in her expression. Robin's eyes lit up. It was such an exciting journey. Oh, by the way, actually I have another question for King Cobra. As if thinking of something, Xia Luo suddenly turned back to look at Cobra. I almost forgot what I really wanted to ask. Your Majesty Xia Luo, it doesn't matter. Actually, I want to know how the Alabasta royal family transferred the abilities of the previous devil fruit to the fruit. It is rumored that Alabasta has always had two patron saints, namely the bird fruit and falcon form and the canine fruit and jackal form. I want to know how on earth these two devil fruits have been allowed to appear here for so many years in Alabasta's long history? Xia Luo asked the question that had always puzzled him the most. Blackbeard uses dark fruit's ability to transfer other devil fruit's abilities, so how does Alabasta without dark fruit allow devil fruit to always appear here? Cobra looked a little embarrassed, and his words began to falter. If it troubles you, the king, forget about this topic. Thank you very much for allowing us to read the historical text. This question. Just my personal question. Seeing Cobra's embarrassed look, Xia Luo was secretly disappointed, but she didn't force it. After all, this is just the doubt he has always had about One Piece, but if it embarrasses his future father-in-law, then forget it. No, as someone who saved Alabasta, if you want to know, I can tell you the secret here. Cobra seemed to have figured it out, his eyes became firm, and he no longer hid it. Actually, the location of demon fruit power's rebirth after death is controllable, Cobra said in surprise, and everyone present looked at him in shock. Controllable? This is everyone's inner reaction. It is currently known that after demon fruit power dies, its fruit power will regenerate devil fruit on a fruit somewhere in the sea. This stage does not require the fruit to grow, but rather the devil fruit attaches directly to the fruit to give the devil its power. Devil fruit is actually the possibility of human evolution that people are pursuing, a power born from people's inner obsessions. Cobra told something that even Xia Luo didn't know, everyone present. This is also the first time I heard about the origin of devil fruit. Human obsession has led to the birth of such unnatural power, one after another, but this has been rejected by the mother of nature, the sea. Every demon fruit power will be restricted by the sea stone factor in the ocean. This is also the reason why even the best sailors cannot swim after eating devil fruit. But how does this relate to the reason why Alabasta inherited devil fruit? Although he was surprised by the secret behind the birth of devil fruit, Xia Luo was still curious about the method of inheriting the fruit. As I said, devil fruit is born from human obsessions. When the Esper dies, his devil fruit ability will carry the soul of the Esper and return to the place where his obsession is deepest. Each devil fruit inherits some of the obsessions and souls of the previous owner. This is why someone will be able to use some special moves after eating the devil fruit. This may be the power developed by the previous generation demon fruit power. If the ability user has no obsession, then the devil fruit will be truly randomly generated somewhere in this ocean. For the patron saints of Alabasta throughout the ages, when they are about to die, we will place their favorite fruits next to them. After death, their devil fruit will be reborn on the land they are most obsessed with, and it is very likely that it will be reborn nearby. Cobra raised his eyes and glanced at Xia Luo, revealing the secret that had been buried in Alabasta for a long time. It's incredible. I didn't expect devil fruit's abilities to come from this way. Robin, the most knowledgeable member of the team, couldn't help but sigh. Although this method of inheriting fruit abilities is controllable, for most of the ability users in the sea, are there really deep obsessions? Only a royal family like the patron saint of Alabasta who has always lived in this land and is loyal to it will allow every fruit-powered person to be born here. Xia Luo expressed the key to inheritance in one sentence. This method of inheriting fruits is inspired by the way Girls of Four Seasons in RWBY inherits power. Chapter 30 Vivi's speech. After getting the answer she wanted to know, Xia Luo also took the lead in leaving the royal tomb. This trip was not in vain. I fulfilled my promise to Robin and learned the secret of devil fruit. However, this method is somewhat difficult to use. We arrived at the Plaza Hall in the capital Rupana. A lot of soldiers from the kingdom have been gathered here to maintain order. The residents in the royal capital are talking below about why the king has summoned everyone here. Father, Xia Luo, you are here. Vivi, who was being guarded by soldiers, screamed happily when she saw Xia Luo and the others coming back. Well, I've finished reading everything I wanted to see. How about it? Are you ready? You look a little nervous. Xia Luo walked over slowly, looked at Vivi who was a little nervous and smiled. Well, this is also my first time to speak in front of so many people, but I will try my best. People from all over the capital have gathered now. With this evidence, all we need to do is reveal Crocodile's conspiracy. Coming out should restore peace to Alabasta. Vivi was feeling a little excited and a little nervous, holding in her hand the incriminating evidence that Crocodile had found in Yu Yan's office. There is evidence that Crocodile established a criminal group, Baroque Studio, and purchased dance powder on the black market with the intention of usurping Alabasta's power. Vivi. Go, you have grown up, I believe you can do it. Cobra came to her side and stroked her hair. With Cobra's encouragement, Vivi's eyes became firm and she resolutely stepped onto the podium in the square hall. Fellow citizens, I have summoned you here to reveal a conspiracy surrounding Alabasta that has been going on for 4 years. When Vivi said this, the civilians below were talking louder, but Vivi was not affected and continued to speak. Crocodile, who was praised as a hero by the people, was actually a usurper. He established the criminal group Baroque Studio, and then used dancing powder in the capital Aruba for a year, leaving cities other than the capital dry for a whole year. The large number of dancing fans that appeared in Nahana some time ago was also caused by him pretending to be a palace soldier to provoke the people to rebel. The real purpose of Crocodile is to provoke the people to rebel, and then usurp the power of this country to realize his dark plan. Vivi's impassioned speech made the civilians constantly suspicious. On one side was the hero, Crocodile, who protected Alabasta, and on the other side was the royal family that had ruled for many years. Soon someone from the people below asked, "Princess Vivi, do you have any evidence that this is what Lord Crocodile did?" The speaker was a young man who had personally experienced being almost killed by pirates. It was Crocodile who strangled all the invading pirates at the critical moment. Now Princess Vivi's speech has plunged him into confusion. A hero who saved his life, and a princess who loves the people, he really doesn't know which side to believe. The evidence of Crocodile's crime is in my hands. Vivi held up the criminal documents searched by Baroque Studio and spoke loudly to the people. This is all the evidence of Crocodile's crime. I started undercover at Baroque Studio a year ago and have been searching for their criminal evidence and information about their boss, but to no avail. Until a few days ago, I met Xia Luo, an upright captain of the adventure group. He helped us defeat Crocodile and search his base for incriminating evidence. It contains all the evidence of Crocodile's crimes, which is enough to prove the fact that he is a usurper. Vivi's words were like splashes caused by a pebble dropped into water, and the crowd's discussion became even louder. I knew the king wouldn't do such a thing as using dancing powder. It turns out it was this damn pirate who did it. He actually deceived our trust. Bah, what kind of hero? He's just a thief. My damn son actually didn't want to think about His Majesty the King, and even joined the rebel army. I will capture him tomorrow to await the punishment of His Majesty the King. Some people are happy that their benevolent king has always been the king and His Royal Highness has not changed. Some people regret why they believed the rumors outside. Citizens, the most critical person to expose Crocodile's conspiracy is Captain Xia Luo, who defeated him. Compared to Crocodile, Captain Xia Luo should be called Alabasta's hero. Vivi raised her hand and pointed to Xia Luo on the side, and the crowd became excited for a moment. Hero. Hero. The cheers from the crowd made Xia Luo feel a little embarrassed and could only touch her nose in embarrassment. I came to Alabasta with a purpose, and now I'm still being hailed as a hero. I'm really embarrassed. However, it was also the first time for him to experience the sound of the crowd cheering for him, and he felt a little ecstatic for a while. While learning the truth, I also request the rebels outside to stop your meaningless actions. This will only make the country more and more chaotic. I know that Crocodile's conspiracy inspired your resistance, so I promise again that you will not be punished. Vivi patted her chest and said again, she knew there must be a rebel spy inside. As long as this can resolve the conflict between the two, Kosa should also understand. Vivi thought of her childhood friend, Kosha, now the leader of the resistance. Bang bang bang. As Vivi's last words came out, I don't know who took the lead in applauding. In the end, all the people clapped and cheered vigorously. I believe in you, Princess Vivi. Mercy, Princess Vivi, thank you for your forgiveness. Countless people cheered, and some knelt down to repent. At this moment, the conspiracy that had disrupted Alabasta for 4 years finally collapsed. Vivi walked down the stage slowly and immediately threw herself into Xia Luo's arms. I did it, I finally did it. Thank you very much, Captain Xia Luo. Tears of happiness flashed in Vivi's eyes. It was all because of the man in front of her who helped her get to this point. Okay, everything has passed. The important thing is the present. The rebels have been put down and Alabasta can regain its vitality again. Xia Luo touched the head of the beauty in her arms and comforted her softly. With this speech, Alabasta's internal troubles came to an end. The rebel leader Kosha personally came to the capital with all his men to pray for Cobra's punishment. And Vivi also lived up to her promise of forgiving everyone who was provoked to rebel. Chapter 31 Become completely famous and become famous all over the world. The second half of the Grand Line, a deserted island in the New World, which is recognized as the strongest sea area. No one expected that the headquarters of the most mysterious newspaper, World Economic News, was hidden on this desert island. Big news. Big news. The 7 warlords of the Sea Crocodile, one of the 3 major forces that counterbalance the Grand Line, were actually defeated by the Rising Star bounty hunter from East Blue. Morgan Gans held the speech material from Princess Vivi of Alabasta in his hand. It was learned above that Crocodile was defeated, which was undoubtedly the biggest slap in the face to the prestige of Marijoy and 7 warlords of the sea. Shichibukai, known as one of the 3 major forces, was defeated by a newcomer so easily. Notify all branches, release this big news immediately. Morgan Guns' bird-like face, which remained in the form of an orc, was full of fanatical expressions. But President, if this news gets reported, I'm afraid we will be threatened by the world government. A member of the newspaper office wearing glasses said tremblingly. Compared with the threats and oppression from the world government, it would be a shame for me if this big news is not announced. Work overtime. I will write the headline of the news and notify all branches below to work overtime today. Morgan Gans knocked out the bespectacled member with one punch. This kind of subordinate who dare not challenge the authority of the world government is really not a good newspaper member. So with the help of Morgan Gans, soon, countless newsbirds around the world began their own hard overtime life again. The four seas, the paradise, the new world, except for the windless zone with few people and the harsh climate island. Everyone has received big news personally written by Morgan Gans, one of the kings of the dark underground and the president of the economic newspaper. 7 warlords of the sea attempted to usurp the kingship of Alabasta. They were defeated by East Blue supernova bounty hunter dual sword style Xia Luo. The whole sea suddenly burst into uproar. The legendary 7 warlords of the sea were actually defeated by the weakest bounty hunter from East Blue? Really? Ha ha ha, Marine's lackey. What kind of legal pirate 7 warlords of the sea? No. They are just a bunch of clowns, and it seems that their reputation is in vain. I must let these guys have a taste of my power next time I meet them. East Blue supernova dual swordsman Xia Luo. Wasn't it revealed some time ago that most of the pirates who hunted most of the tens of millions of bounties in East Blue were able to reach the Grand Line so quickly, and they made such big news? How will world government end now? It is trying to usurp Alabasta, one of the participating countries. Ha ha ha, its own men are attacking the country it protects. World government is really a clown. Ha ha ha, what qualifications does Shichibukai, who was defeated by the newcomer, have to join the other 2 major forces to check and balance the sea? And what qualifications does it have to enjoy the legal right to plunder? Aboard the Moby Dick far away in the second half of New World. Dad, there is some interesting news just now, about a newcomer from East Blue some time ago. Marco walked up to Whitebeard leisurely, holding the newspaper he just bought from Newsbird in his hand and handed it to Whitebeard. After Whitebeard took it, he laughed out loud at the title and content. Koolalala, was that little crocodile actually defeated by a man from East Blue? That guy from East Blue seems to be a good strong player. Don't you want to invite him to join us? Marco has always had a lazy smile on his face, and he is also very interested in Xia Luo. Koolalala, no need, he's just a kid who just went to sea. Let's wait and see when he can come to the second half of the Grand Line and stand in front of me. Whitebeard looked at Xia Luo's portrait in the newspaper and laughed and said, this scene also emerged among the major forces in the Grand Route. Doflamingo, Kaido, Charlotte Linlin, and Shanks all became interested in this man from East Blue. Shanks, there is an interesting new person in the sea. Would you like to come and see him? Ben Beckman shook the newspaper in his hand and said, what? Are there any interesting newcomers? Let me see. As soon as Ben Beckman finished speaking, Shanks immediately put his head over and squeezed next to him. Idiot, don't get too close. Ben Beckman threw the newspaper to him with a look of disgust. Ha 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 ha, it's really interesting. Shichibukai was defeated by a newcomer. What a super powerful newcomer. Shanks picked up the newspaper on the ground and laughed heartily after reading the contents. Is the turmoil of the sea about to start again? East Blue, it's so nostalgic. I really hope that Luffy can go to sea soon and stand out in this violent era and come to the new world. Shanks suddenly thought of Luffy far away in East Blue, the man who inherited the will of Pirate King Gold D. Roger and on whom he had bet everything. Some time ago, Luffy's brother Ace came here to look for him, saying that he wanted to meet the man that his brother had been talking about. Then there was a party, and Ace learned that Luffy would not go to sea for another 2 years. This day, the whole world is talking about Xia Luo who defeated Crocodile. From ordinary people to nobles, up to the 4 emperors, marines and even Marijoy, it can be said that Xia Luo became completely famous in this battle. But what the people on the sea didn't know was that Xia Luo defeated Crocodile without even using her full strength. If they knew about this, they would probably rate Xia Luo even higher. In this way, Xia Luo stepped on Shichibukai's head and completely stepped onto the world stage, gaining a reputation that was not inferior to Shichibukai's. This also made a group of lawless people on the sea start to have wild thoughts about Shichibukai. Countless idiots have planned to defeat one of the 7 warlords of the sea, and then fight to fame, and soar to the top of the world's big stage. But these weak guys don't know that this kind of behavior is just pushing themselves into the abyss. The Shichibukai have also been harassed by these little pirates because of this incident. Chapter 32 Aokiji attacks Marineford. A conference table at Naval Headquarters. There are once again a large number of Marine senior executives gathered here, including Sengoku, Vice Admiral Crane, Kuzan, Garp and a number of veteran Vice Admirals. Bang. Damn Crocodile, he actually tried to usurp the membership of the world government, and also damaged Marine's prestige. He is simply impatient to live. Sengoku was furious at the conference table, and the veins on his forehead popped out. He did not expect that this group of Shichibukai would be so bold. Although they had legal rights to plunder, they dared to target Alabasta, one of the participating countries. Sengoku couldn't imagine how Alabasta would treat the people of this country if he really fell into Crocodile's hands. Pirates were basically evil, and he didn't dare expect pirates to be so kind to civilians. The world government has requested that Crocodile's Shichibukai title be revoked, orders for his capture have been issued, and Crocodile's bounty has been redefined to 350 million belly. After being furious, Sengoku quickly calmed down, after all, as the resourceful general. He couldn't stay in this furious state, this affects the way he thinks about things. Crocodile's strength and threat are enough to reach a bounty of 350 million belly. However, Marine currently does not have many manpower to capture Crocodile. Since the conspiracy was exposed, his whereabouts have disappeared, and no one knows where he is now. Where? Crane Vice Admiral's face was calm, and he held his chin with both hands, making Commander Akari's signature move. However, with Crocodile's strength, she has nothing to worry about. What makes her more noteworthy is actually Xia Luo who defeated Crocodile. Let's not mention Crocodile for the moment. The most important thing now is this Xia Luo, the information obtained from Marine Colonel Smoker stationed in Logue Town. This person not only possesses armament Haki and observation Haki, but the strange power displayed by his physique is also very terrifying. There is no doubt that this is a young man with a special physique. If it is not stopped, there will be endless troubles. Sengoku felt a headache. He took off his glasses and pinched his eyebrows. The two of them were not easy to worry about, causing big troubles there every day. Then he told Xia Luo's current situation. If it was the original Xia Luo and Marine who had no conflict, they could still be considered half-partners. But according to Marine's informant in Alabasta, son of the devil, Nico Robin is walking with Xia Luo and others, and he may have joined forces. Joined Xia Luo's gang. After hearing what Sengoku said, Kuzan's deep eyes also flashed brightly. Nico Robin was the target of his attention all along. Back then, he followed the will of his friend Saul and chose to let Robin go. He just wanted to see with his own eyes how her life would go in the future, and also wanted to know whether Saul's idea was correct. The most important thing now is to know what the other party is thinking. What is Xia Luo's purpose in taking in Ohara's survivors? If he wants to ascend the throne of the Pirate King with the help of Nico Robin, then it is undoubtedly useless to send Vice Admiral's combat power to negotiate. If he wants to stop the opponent, only Admiral-level combat power can suppress him. Crane Vice Admiral stated in one sentence the potential threat that Xia Luo poses to Marine. The only person in the world who can read the text of history is Robin. Only Robin's help can ascend the throne of the Pirate King. This is why the world government regarded Robin, who was only 8 years old, as a bounty of 79 million baileys. It's not because of this guy Garp that I haven't been able to find this Xia Luo for so long, otherwise East Blue would have invited him to Marine. Sengoku kept looking at Garp, who was eating donuts in the meeting, and he was so angry that he yelled. Ha ha ha, Sengoku, you can't blame me for this. I don't know how to do it in roads. After the town was over, where did Xia Luo go and hide? It wasn't until news of Alabasta came that he knew his whereabouts. Garp didn't pay any attention to Sengoku's angry expression, but instead he ate the donuts and smiled. In that case, let me go. Kuzan, who had been silent during the meeting, stood up and took the initiative to go find Xia Luo. That's fine, Kuzan. The main purpose this time is to find out Xia Luo's purpose. If the other party really wants to be the Pirate King, then he will capture them all without hesitation. If the other party is willing to hand over Nico Robin and join the Marine, if so, giving him the title of Rear Admiral does not limit his freedom. Sengoku thought for a while and finally agreed to Kuzan's request. Since Xia Luo wanted to sail freely, he would give him this privilege after joining Marine. Xia Luo's combat power is likely to grow to the level of Admiral. He has already defeated Shichibukai at such a young age. He can imagine the terrifying strength of this combat power in the future. Now 2 of the 3 admirals have gone out, Kizaru and Akainu are both on missions, and Aokiji is the only admiral left in the headquarters. Although Garp is qualified for this task, with Garp's character, he is afraid that he will fail again. From this, only Aokiji is most suitable for this task. According to his sailing route, it is estimated that the next island is Gai Island. Send a fleet of warships with you. No need. If there really is a fight, ordinary soldiers will have no effect on this guy with Conqueror's Haki. I alone will be enough. After saying that, Aokiji turned and walked towards the door. I hope everything will go smoothly. In this damn great pirate era, more and more new pirate stars have appeared recently. Sengoku looked sad. During this time, the pirates became active again. The 3 admirals frequently went on business missions, and Akainu and Kizaru were sent out not long after they returned. Sengoku also works day and night to deal with things, but Garp, who is heartless, lives quite comfortably. Peeved ha 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 ha, don't worry Sengoku. After all, that brat is a newcomer who has just gone to sea. Don't you know Aokiji's strength? He can handle this by himself. Garp said with a big smile. The donut in his hand never stopped since the beginning of the meeting. Oh, I hope so. A look of worry flashed across Sengoku's face, but it wasn't for Aokiji's safety. He always felt that something was not right about Xia Luo, as if something had been overlooked, but he didn't know where it was. Xia Luo on the other side had no idea that the road ahead of her was blocked by an admiral. Now I am still enjoying a happy life with the crew for more than 10 days every day. Of course, cultivation has not been left behind. Chapter 33 Fire of the Abyss. Ding. The sign-in system has detected the target Alabasta. Do you want to check in the target? Close black lens bracket. Sign in, ding. Get the Forcible Medicine X10, ding. Get the Armament Haki Experience Pack, ding. Get the skill, Fire of Sin. Ding. The next check-in location is Sky Island. Check-in will be open in 15 days. Host, please go to the check-in location to sign in. Close black lens bracket. Seeing this reward, Xia Luo was satisfied. Sure enough, the wait was not in vain. The system's sign-in rewards will never disappoint him. Armament Haki's experience pack directly increased the capacity of his armed color as before. Coupled with the training during this period, this time he was directly upgraded from C+ to B level, crossing a small stage. It has to be said that the improvement of the experience package is relatively large. Xia Luo took out the medicine to check its effectiveness. He still vividly remembered the effect of the Wuji Baifeng pill last time. It directly cured Kaya disease and greatly improved his physical condition. Strong walking medicine. A medicine that can prevent fatigue for a certain period of time and allow you to sprint continuously. Xia Luo's eyes lit up. What a good thing, never tired, keep sprinting. Good medicine. It's a good medicine. It is indeed something produced by the system, but it's a pity that there are only 10 bottles. It would be better if there were more. System, why don't you have a malfunction? Other systems can use points to redeem rewards and so on, but you only have a sign-in function. Xia Luo said regretfully in her heart, but then her eyes turned to another reward. The Fire of Sin? Doesn't sound like a serious flame. The Fire of Sin. The flame polluted by the abyss, burning all sinful souls, an eternal fire. The flames are polluted by the abyss. What is the abyss? System, are you sure there will be no problems using this thing? I won't be contaminated, right? There was a drop of cold sweat on Xia Luo's forehead. Judging from the description, this thing is not something you would want to touch. It seems to be a product from a relatively chaotic world. Ding, the system check-in items are all products without side effects, so host can use them with confidence. Close black lens bracket. It was rare that the system came out in person to answer Xia Luo's doubts. Call. Xia Luo breathed a sigh of relief. When he first obtained this skill, he felt that there was something more. I was happy with this skill, but my heart dropped half as much when I saw the description of the skill. But it's pretty cool to have a flame pretending to be cool. Black and white flames suddenly attached to Xia Luo's hands. The flames burned like wailing and screaming humans, constantly twisting in the flames. No matter how you look at it, it looks like an ominous thing. It can only be said that it is the product of the birth of the abyss. But for some reason, this flame could only wrap around his body. When Xia Luo wanted to condense the fireball and launch it, he couldn't use it. He took out the long sword from his waist and tried to attach the black flame to the sword. Suddenly, black flames swarmed up like vines, and the sword was instantly covered with a layer of burning black and white flames. Xia Luo swung his sword casually a few times, and the heat of the flame seemed to be left in the air, which was slightly distorted. Top enchantment buff. Hey, no one will eat the Mara fruit. Who doesn't know how to use fire in this day and age? After swinging it for a few times and testing the skills, he retracted the long sword, and the black flames on his body gradually dissipated. Hey, Xia Luo, why are you still standing there? Are you going to sail after all? At this time, Nami's voice came from behind, looking at him with doubtful eyes. Smirking Xia Luo has been looking very excited since this morning. She was originally expected to sail today, but Xia Luo kept shouting that she was waiting. So the girls had no choice but to get on the boat and get ready for sailing. It was not until just now that they were ready to come over and call Xia Luo. Okay, Nami, has the magnetic energy for the next island been stored? It was stored 10 days ago. Nami shook the record pointer in his hand and said. Then follow the route of the record pointer. The next island should be Gaia Island. No, it should be Sky Island. Xia Luo picked up Nami and jumped onto the sailboat together, then gave everyone a thumbs up. Robin also knows how to use the flower fruit ability to raise the sail, and Reiju is at the helm to control the direction of sailing. Does Sky Island really exist? I always feel that an island floating in the sky is a bit incredible. Nami also heard Xia Luo say in the past few days that she wanted to go to Sky Island as her next island. When I learned about the existence of Sky Island for the first time, I was a little surprised and disbelieving, but think about all the incredible things I encountered along the way. Nami also had to believe what Xia Luo said. Well, the soaring sea currents washed the other half of the land in Magic Valley Town into the sky, forming the only Sky Island with land. What do you think? There's more to Sky Island than this. Yes, there are many Sky Islands in this world, and the devil fruit I prepared for you is also on the Sky Island. Enel's fruit ability is undoubtedly the most suitable for Nami, the most violent fruit in Logia, Thunder Fruit. Not only does it have super attack power, but it is also as fast as Sparkling Fruit. This Logia Devil Fruit can be said to be the most perfect Logia Devil Fruit, with power, speed, two-way strengthening. The historical text Captain Xia Luo mentioned is also on Sky Island, right? Robin also heard what Xia Luo said about Sky Island, and for a moment he remembered the whereabouts of the historical text he told him. Yes, the historical text on Sky Island records the location of Poseidon. Haha, There are islands floating in the sky and historical texts. I am becoming more and more interested in the next journey. Ha ha ha, this is just the beginning, the future journey will make you feel more interesting. I have been getting along with Robin for so long these days, and our relationship is gradually getting better and better, and our conversations are no longer unfamiliar. Robin seems to like this very much too. The atmosphere on board. Captain Xia Luo, you know so much information about the historical text and the red historical text. Are you planning to become the Pirate King? Robin was a little curious about Xia Luo's thoughts. As the successor of the Golden Lion, she thought that Xia Luo must have inherited the great pirate's ambition. Yes, Captain Xia Luo is now famous. The whole sea knows your existence. You are now famous in the sea. Do you plan to debut as the Pirate King? Michida on the observation deck also echoed that he was no longer afraid of Xia Luo after living for so many days. However, Xia Luo taught her not to make weird laughter anymore, and now she speaks much more normally. HMPH, isn't it normal for me to be famous all over the world with my strength? As for the Pirate King, I'm not interested. If I really want to be the king, then I want to be the king of the world. The mere Pirate King is not enough to catch my eye. Xia Luo said with a hazy expression. Chapter 34 First Meeting Marine Admiral Aokiji. Huh? King of the world? There's nothing wrong with your mind, right? Nami touched Xia Luo's forehead, and then touched her own. I don't have a fever. Why are you saying such nonsense? It made Xia Luo dumbfounded. Captain Xia Luo actually wants to challenge the authority of the world government. What he said is really shocking. Robin also covered her mouth and looked frightened, but given this woman's character, it felt like she was just faking it. HMPH, what an ambitious captain. Reiju also walked over after fixing the direction of the rudder and smiled. Well, forget it if you don't believe it, I will let you see it one day. Seeing that everyone looked like they didn't quite believe that they could become the king of the world, Xia Luo could only mutter to himself. The aftermath of Xia Luo's shock to the world is still spreading. Marine announced the disposal of Crocodile again, not only depriving it of the 7 warlords of the sea title. The bounty, which has been silent for a long time, has also been raised to 350 million belly. It was Crocodile's defeat that damaged the deterrent power of Shichibukai and Marine. The distance between Gaia Island and Alabasta is not that far, and it only took 2 days of sailing to reach the destination. Having just arrived at Gaia Island, Xia Luo was not in a hurry to fly directly to Sky Island, but wanted to go to Magic Valley Town to inquire about any interesting information recently. There is indeed an abnormality in the magnetism of this island. The direction the record pointer points to is actually the sky. It seems that there is indeed a sky island on the top of this land. Nami said with emotion as he looked at the record pointer that kept shaking. Haha, have you ever heard of the story of Rolando? The Golden Land Sandora in his story actually exists, and it is right above our heads on Sky Island. Xia Luo pointed to the top of her head and said, What did you say, Sandora, the land of gold? Nami and Karina immediately cheered up and said that they were not sleepy anymore. What's more, it is the rumored land of gold. It is said that there is countless gold in it, and it is a place that many pirates in this sea dream of. You're just telling us now. Why didn't you tell us earlier so we could come here earlier? Are you hiding anything else? At this time, the two people suddenly realized why Xia Luo only mentioned Sky Island before. But he never mentioned anything about the land of gold. I always do this riddler trick, tricking people into telling you what's going on here. Ha ha ha, no more. Don't you want to stay in Alabasta for a few more days? Anyway, come early or late, the gold won't escape, so why not enjoy 2 days in Alabasta? Snort. In response to Xia Luo's rhetoric, the two women simply shook their heads and ignored him. In response, Xia Luo could only shrug and said that you didn't ask me again. If he had told Nami earlier that he still needed to sign in, they would have been dragged directly to Sky Island to pick up gold before they even had time to sign in. Speaking of which, have you ever felt that this town is a little deserted? Robin looked at the deserted village with some weirdness. There was a hint of weirdness everywhere. Xia Luo also noticed something was wrong. Logically speaking, Magic Valley Town should be a gathering place for pirates and should be considered a very lively place. However, the current deserted area is indeed a bit abnormal. Xia Luo opened observation Haki to cover the island and began to feel the breath of life here. Since the island is small, Xia Luo's current level of observation can still cover everything. This is. What exactly happened here? Xia Luo sensed the life forms of this town and found that only a few people were active here. And this part of the living life is on the other side of the island. It should be Mont Blanc Coolie Guide who helped Luffy in the original work. Other than that, the closest place is a tavern not far away where only one person is. What's wrong, Xia Luo? Reiju first noticed Xia Luo's abnormality and asked. As Reiju asked, everyone also discovered that something was wrong with Xia Luo's situation, and they saw him frowning tightly and looking serious. Someone special must have come here. All the pirates on the island have been cleaned up. Now there is only one person left in this town. Who did this? Nami immediately asked anxiously. I don't know, but it's probably this guy in the town, who will clean up all the pirates on this island. Karina, be ready to open the barrier layer to protect everyone's safety. Let's go meet this guy. No problem, Karina made an okay gesture, and then Xia Luo took the lead and walked towards the tavern in the town. Squeak. Xia Luo opened the door of the tavern. Inside, a man nearly 3 meters tall was sleeping on the table at the bar. The sound of the door opening just now did not wake him up, but he was still sleeping soundly. Xia Luo looked at this unfamiliar figure, but she felt familiar. Boom boom. Walking into the tavern, the sound of the wooden floor suddenly seemed to wake up the sleeping man. Obviously there was no reaction at all when he opened the door, but now he immediately became alert from his sleep just 2 steps closer to him. Oh, I slept so comfortably. Huh? Are you here for a drink? Sorry, the owner of this store probably won't be able to open the store for a while. Aokiji yawned heavily, wiped the drool from the corner of his mouth while sleeping, and waved his hand after noticing the person behind him. When Aokiji turned around, Robin at the door saw his face clearly, his expression suddenly changed, and cold sweat broke out on his head. How? How is it possible? Why is he here? Robin couldn't help but step back as he spoke. His feet were shaking uncontrollably, and he stumbled and collapsed on the ground. Robin, what's wrong with you? Nami and the other girls asked with concern. Marine Admiral Aokiji, what are you doing here? Are you here for me? Xia Luo noticed something strange about Robin, and combined with the familiar feeling of the man in front of her, she instantly thought of Marine Admiral Aokiji. What? Marine Admiral Aokiji? Several women were surprised and looked at this lazy man, who was wiping his saliva just now. His appearance was incompatible with Marine Admiral. Ah, I really came to see you, but the most important thing is to see the newcomer who defeated Crocodile, East Blue's rising star bounty hunter Xia Luo. Aokiji looked lazy, but his attention was entirely focused on Xia Luo. Was this the man who defeated that crocodile? He looked so young, just like the rumors said. Chapter 35 Aokiji. I'm still a 45-year-old boy. Oh, meet me. Are you coming to invite me to join Marine again? Originally, Xia Luo thought that Aokiji came to see Robin, but unexpectedly, he came to see herself. I really want to invite you to join Marine again. Another question is, as a bounty hunter, why are you looking for a pirate to be a crew member now? Aokiji really wants to know what Xia Luo is thinking, and also wants to test for Robin whether Xia Luo is her destination. As if she was lost in thought because of Aokiji's words, Xia Luo rubbed her chin and lost in thought. Of course, because Robin-chan is very cute. Xia Luo gave his answer after a while. Huh? Aokiji opened his mouth slightly, with a trace of confusion in his eyes. He thought Xia Luo could give some interesting answer, but what he didn't expect was that the answer was too interesting, and it was completely unexpected. But soon he returned to his original lazy state from that gaffe. Look carefully, brother Xia Luo, your crew members seem to be all beautiful women. Are you ladies interested in having a drink together? Aokiji glanced at the girls behind Xia Luo, raised his hand to greet the girls behind him, and thought about what he just said, and it seemed that it was indeed reasonable. Who wants to go drinking with an uncle like you? Nami replied unceremoniously. Hey, miss, this is really heartbreaking. I'm just a 45-year-old boy. Aokiji looked shocked. I don't know how much of it was emotion, but Xia Luo probably was all acting. Don't be pretentious, Marine Admiral. I still have the same attitude as before about inviting me to join Marine. I have no interest in Marine. Don't be anxious yet, little brother Xia Luo, I came here with conditions this time. As long as you join Marine, we will give you the rank of Rear Admiral, and Nico Robin can also join with you. I will cancel her bounty. As Marine Admiral, I can guarantee Nico Robin for you. You can rest assured. And it won't restrict your freedom. You just need to help if there is an emergency on your route. This condition is not bad. Aokiji said in a seductive tone, but his expression was still lazy. To be honest, this condition can be said to have set a precedent. He did not believe that Sengoku could offer such a condition. It was most likely that the Marine Admiral in front of him had guaranteed it afterwards. But, Xia Luo glanced at Robin who was slumped on the ground. Having said that, you Marines destroyed Robin's hometown, and now you want her to join you, isn't it a bit overwhelming? Robin's delicate body trembled slightly, as if recalling Ohara's past. Looking up at the man in front of her who didn't have any stage fright when facing the Marine Admiral and stood firmly in front of them, Robin was also slightly moved. But when Xia Luo said these words, the atmosphere at the scene began to feel a little wrong. Aokiji also changed from a lazy look at the beginning to a bit serious. What do you mean, brother Xia Luo, are you going to refuse my invitation? That's right. The atmosphere began to cool down gradually. Aokiji slowly stood up, and Xia Luo's hand was also placed on the handle of the knife. Karina also sensed that something was not right, and was ready to use the fruit's power at any time. If that's the case, can you please leave here, brother Xia Luo? I'm here with a mission this time. Since you don't join Marine, I can only arrest Nico Robin, who is a wanted criminal, back to jail. Sorry, Robin-chan is my crew now, and I will not leave my crew to you. Xia Luo's sword was slightly unsheathed, ready for battle. Hey, brother Xia Luo, do you know the consequences of attacking Marine Admiral like this? He will become a wanted criminal with a bounty on his head. Looking at the prepared posture on the other side, Aokiji was also slightly helpless. He didn't expect the progress to be so unsatisfactory. As long as Xia Luo just agreed honestly, it would have no impact on his voyage afterwards. He can also legitimately keep Nico Robin. It's nothing more than becoming a pirate. Rather than handing over Robin Chan to Marine, I might as well become a pirate. That's right, it's impossible for us to give Robin to you. Nami, Karina and others also agreed. Everyone, Robin's eyes were filled with tears. Ever since the Ohara incident ended, no one had ever cared about her. And now these people in front of him are standing in front of him to protect him, which makes Robin, who has lived in the dark world for so long, feel a little trembling in his heart. It's a bit troublesome. You thought it was just a simple mission, but now you have to fight. But I came here with a mission this time. As a Marine Admiral, I can't turn a blind eye to this even though I'm already here. Aokiji said with a headache expression. In that case, please Xia Luo, please lie down first and then take Nico Robin away. After saying that, Aokiji launched an attack, and the cold air quickly spread and froze the entire room. Karina also activates the fruit power instantly when Aokiji takes action. A circular barrier enveloped the women behind them, blocking Aokiji's cold air from freezing. Outside the barrier, Xia Luo was slowly freezing from her feet up, and the situation looked very bad. But Karina is not worried that Xia Luo will be killed by Aokiji so easily. He slightly raised the corners of his mouth, and a black and white flame began to burn on the surface, and the high temperature melted the ice on his feet instantly. The black and white sinful fire emitted evil thoughts from the abyss and enveloped his whole body, making Xia Luo look a little evil at this time. It's a fire I've never seen before, it looks pretty bad. Aokiji sighed as he looked at the burning black and white flames in surprise. Haha, it's quite interesting. Since my debut, I have rarely fought with all my strength. I wonder if you, as a Marine Admiral, can force out all my fighting power. Xia Luo stretched out her hand to smooth the bangs on her forehead and activated her hairspray hand. The messy broken hair instantly turned into a slicked back, coupled with the evil smile on Xia Luo's expression and the ominous burning inflammation in her body. It's like a big villain. Karina, take the others back to the ship and wait for me. Let me meet the Marine Admiral, the most powerful person in the sea. Looking at Xia Luo standing in front of everyone, Karina nodded, lifted the paralyzed Robin to stand up, and began to slowly retreat with a few people. This kind of battle is no longer something they can intervene in. Staying here will only cause trouble for Xia Luo. It is better to go back to the ship and wait. Chapter 36 Battle. Although Karina is a little reluctant, she has been practicing for so long these days, and she has also gained abilities from the devil fruit she has eaten, and she obviously feels much stronger. But facing a person of this strength, there is still nothing to do. The only thing that can be done is to put up a barrier to protect everyone. Although she also wants to face and fight with Xia Luo. However, the current situation is not the time for her to be willful. Karina's talent is wisdom, so she can clearly see the situation and immediately judge that protecting everyone and retreating is the best option. After Karina and the other girls had left, Aokiji slowly spoke. If I hadn't come here with a mission, I really wouldn't want to fight you. That flame looks troublesome, and I've never seen you use it before. Aokiji condensed an ice knife with cold air in his hand. Seeing this, Xia Luo also drew out the two swords at his waist. Haha, he is not afraid of this Marine Admiral when it comes to swordplay. Although each Marine Admiral's swordsmanship and physical skills are quite good, what they rely on most is the ability of the fruit. Among the three admirals, Kizaru, whom Zephyr has always talked about, is the one who really plays with swords. Whenever he encounters a master, he will take out his Tien Kong Yun sword. In comparison, Kai, Inu and Aokiji are basically the ones who rely on fruits to fight. Haha, if I don't keep some trump cards, wouldn't I be exposed in front of you all? Xia Luo said with a smile. It's really scary. Even when I faced Crocodile, I didn't try my best, then I have to be more serious. His initially lazy tone also became serious. After saying that, the two figures disappeared at the same time. Clang clang clang. Aokiji's ice blade and Xia Luo's double swords had already made several cuts at that moment. When the two appeared, the ice knife and the double sword were facing each other, and they were in a stalemate for a while. Alas, is this the strange physical strength that Smoker said? He was able to fight hard just now without losing. Aokiji sighed secretly. Suddenly Xia Luo smiled, and Aokiji immediately became wary. An astonishing force suddenly came from his hand, and Aokiji immediately dodged and retreated. Xia Luo just stood there quietly and looked at him with a smile, and did not continue to pursue. Aokiji silently glanced at the ice blade in his hand, and he didn't know when part of it had melted. You must know that the hardness of Aokiji ice skates can collide with famous knives without losing a trace of ice. The hardness of the slag. Now it actually melted a little bit while fighting with Xia Luo. Is it some weird flame? Thinking of this, Frozen Fruit's ability was activated again, and the ice blade recondensed. This time the power of the elements was more intense than before. Such a tricky fire ability. This mission is really troublesome. Aokiji muttered silently before colliding with Xia Luo again. Both of them used high-speed slashes to fight, but after more than a dozen moves, Aokiji's hand broke into two pieces with a click. Aokiji backed away again, this time with a hint of confusion in his eyes. Why did the ice blade with enhanced elemental power break again this time? Brother Xia Luo, is this flame your devil fruit ability? I'm curious as to what fruit can cut off my ice blade twice. Aokiji scratched his head a little irritably. It seemed that he couldn't fight with swordsmanship. Fire was too strong against ice. Even if he strengthened the elemental power, he still couldn't last long in front of this strange flame. Who knows, maybe it is, maybe it's not. Xia Luo shrugged as if he wouldn't tell you. Are you kidding? He's in battle right now. As an enemy, you actually want your opponent to tell you information? Era Allah, if that's the case, then I can only find out by myself. I saw that half of Aokiji's body was covered in frost, and it seemed that he had turned into a frozen element. Frozen moment. Bingwa's right hand waved lightly, releasing cold air towards the front. In an instant, an icy breath hit his face. This unparalleled freezing force froze the water in the air and extended from that direction to the sea. Half of the town and the sea tens of kilometers ahead turned into a white ice field in an instant. Aokiji's super wide-range skill freeze moment, in addition to freezing everything in front of him, can also accurately select targets and automatically avoid his own people. He has mastered the control of frozen fruit so well that practice makes perfect. Even the women on the boat saw such wonders on the sea. In their eyes, the ice in front of them started from the tavern and extended outward, and the sea was frozen. Is this the strength of Marine Admiral? Karina showed a hint of worry and was deeply afraid of Aokiji. On Xia Luo's side, he was facing this large-scale instant freezing skill, and no matter how fast he was, he couldn't dodge it. The sinful inflammation covered the surface of the body and burned, and the power of freezing caused a layer of frost to form on the clothes. The heavy cold air made Xia Luo feel a little cold. Is this the ability of Marine Admirals? They can develop the Logia fruit to this extent. Sure enough, every admiral is a monster. Xia Luo shook the ice beads on her clothes that had not been melted by the sinfire and sighed. Aokiji on the other side frowned and hit the target head-on. The expected effect did not appear. It would have been enough to use cover armament Haki to lift his ice. But this way, it was obvious that the special flame and the strength of the body were able to withstand his freezing move. After Xia Luo reattached armament Haki to his body, he used high-speed movement to rush towards Aokiji. You can't let this guy play long range. Otherwise, if the opponent can fight Akainu for 10 days and 10 nights, I may not be able to beat him. Aokiji raised his hand, wanting to use the skill again. Don't even think about using such a large-scale skill again. The slash-carrying armament Haki flew out and slashed towards Aokiji's waist. I thought it could interrupt Aokiji's slashing attack, but I didn't expect it to be cut from. He passed through it. The sword energy was elementalized in advance before it came into contact with Aokiji's body, and it quickly condensed after the sword energy was cut off. Marine 3 Admiral is not only a fruit player, observation Haki is also a first-rate player. High-end rounds rely on knowledge, color perception, and elementalization of attack positions in advance to avoid them. During the Summit War, Aokiji used elementalization of half of his body in advance to avoid the power of Whitebeard's shock. Ice Cube 2 Thorn Spear, 4 frozen spears galloped away. It's not a wide area skill. Looking at the flying frozen spear, Xia Luo raised his hand and used Flying Slash to chop out the 6-paths sword energy. Lion Majesty Thousand Slice Valley. The 4 sword energy shattered the spears respectively, and the remaining 2 knives penetrated Aokiji, but they were still dodged by observation Haki's elementalization in advance. Ice Cube's Storm and Ice Rain. Aokiji read out the name of the move in a deep voice. Chapter 37. If you don't have martial ethics, you'll cheat or attack by surprise. When Aokiji called out the name of the move, Xia Luo immediately noticed something abnormal above his head. Looking up, there are dense icicles hanging in the air above my head. Xia Luo's pupils dilated slightly. In just the moment when the sword energy was released, Aokiji had already generated such a large-scale skill above his head. Boom! Ice cones emitting biting cold air fell like raindrops, hitting the area where Xia Luo was. The sound of cracking ice picks continued to sound, and the cold air and broken ice slowly enveloped the attacked area. This bombing lasted for half a minute. Aokiji looked at the fog that filled the sky and couldn't see clearly what was going on inside, so he chose to sweep it directly with his sense of sight. The strong breath of life emerged in his perception, and without any hesitation, he immediately raised his hand and planned to use an ice pick to bomb. Wei Guo. Suddenly, Aokiji felt a sense of crisis coming, stopped releasing his ultimate move, and moved as far away from where he was standing as possible. Bang! A huge ball of energy bursts out of the mist towards Aokiji. The high-temperature energy shattered and melted all the houses and soil along the way, and the strong wind swept through the entire town. It was not until the energy flew out of sight that it calmed down. At the last moment, Aokiji burst out as fast as he could before getting out of the attack range. At this time, he was sweating profusely. He looked at the ground that had just been affected by the energy, and felt a chill in his heart. If he had been hit by the move just now, even he would not have felt better. He clearly sensed the armament Haki and Conqueror's entanglement contained in this energy. Xia Luo had just walked out of the center of the ice pick bombing. The clothes on her upper body had disappeared, revealing her strong muscles. The trousers have also changed from trousers to shorts. If it were not for the fear of leakage and the deliberate protection, I am afraid that the half pair of shorts would have disappeared. I really don't know how the quality of Luffy's clothes is made. No matter how hard they are bombarded, they will not be damaged at all. Hey, you don't have martial ethics. You wanted to attack me just now, right? There must be a turn-based fight at least. I can't just stand and get beaten. Xia Luo said through gritted teeth. Of course, it's just talk. Who will give you a chance to breathe during the battle? Those who can last a last hit will definitely hit a last hit. Brother Xia Luo, you are the one. Did you want to kill me just now? It was so dangerous. You almost killed me. Aokiji glanced at the scratches on the charred earth, and said with a slight twitch in the corner of his mouth. If Aokiji froze half of Mogu Town to give it a middle part, then Xia Luo's attack was to plow the center line of Mogu Town to plow a ravine through the entire island to the sea. Sea water slowly flows into it and fills it up. The fog blown away by the strong wind also allowed Aokiji to see Xia Luo's situation at this time. The clothes have disappeared, and apart from some scratches on the body, there are no scars of even broken skin. This time he was really shocked. His attack didn't cause any damage. What a powerful defense. According to Aokiji's impression, there are only 3 monsters in the sea with this kind of physique, namely the 4 emperors and Kaido, who is also a 4 emperors. The remaining monster is Bullet, who is imprisoned in Impel Down. The key is that these are all famous pirates, that is to say, if Xia Luo continues to grow. There might be another big pirate on the same level as the 4 emperors in the future. Now Xia Luo's position is extremely unclear, and Aokiji cannot guarantee whether he will turn into a pirate after letting him sail on the sea for a period of time. Great strength, with a crew that reads the text of history. Aokiji's expression darkened. He could not let Xia Luo continue to sail like this on the sea. It was really too great a threat to Marine. Ha ha ha, Marine Admiral's strength is more than that. I've been holding back for so many days, and I haven't had such a fun battle for a long time. Let me see Marine Admiral's true strength. After the fight just now, Xia Luo's desire to fight was also aroused. At this time, he really wanted to use this battle to relieve his long-standing desire to fight. He signed in to get the forced drug, opened the bottle cap and drank it. While taking the medicine, Aokiji felt that this was a good opportunity to attack. The elemental power in his hands continued to condense, and he jumped into the air. Looking at Xia Luo, who was drinking medicine below, he directly used his freezing technique. Puck. Aokiji released 5 icicles from his palm and shot towards Xia Luo. This move was very fast, and Xia Luo was wrapped in 5 icicles. The cold wind blew by, and the icy cold air froze Xia Luo into a ball of ice crystals at a speed visible to the naked eye. Aokiji did not stop after landing. His right arm began to be covered with frost, and half of his body became elemental. Aokiji gathered all the cold air in his body on his right arm. Ice cube storm pheasant mouth. With a loud roar, his right arm turned into an ice bird and flew out, targeting Xia Luo, who had turned into ice. Ice bird's whole body exuded a biting cold air, bringing up bursts of white mist wherever it passed, and the moisture in the air condensed into frost. Xia Luo, who was in the ice cube, grinned at the corner of her mouth and was covered in armament Haki. He crushed the finished bottle of forced medicine, and with it the ice cubes that froze his body, and violent momentum surged out. Facing the speeding ice bird, Haki drew his sword and gathered his armament, and unleashed his strongest sword energy. Slash wave purgatory. Now Xia Luo no longer cares about whether armament Haki is enough. He has already drank the force-taking medicine and his physical strength is unlimited now. Click. The 2 dark sword energies collided with the ice bird and exploded, and the ice bird began to shatter like glass. The shattering of the ice bird also offset the impact of the sword energy. Ice fragments fell from the sky, and the mist generated by the ice explosion blocked the 2 people. However, both sides' observation Haki locked onto each other. Xia Luo chose to take the lead, with a pair of black swords crossed with golden dragon heads appearing, and they shot forward. Raptor splitting void. This move was learned by Xia Luo from the games he played in his previous life when he was learning swordsmanship. Although it is superficial, it is his fastest move so far. The figure galloped, and the roaring dragon head broke through the fog and rushed straight away. Facing the menacing Xia Luo, Aokiji didn't want to take a hard hit. Just when he was about to turn around and jump away from this position, he found that his ankle was wrapped by a layer of boulders. The force coming from the feet seemed as if these boulders were fused with the earth, and they did not break free at this time. Looking at the confused Aokiji across from him, Xia Luo's lips couldn't help but grin even wider. Lion Majesty. Earth coiling. As early as the moment of charging, he was already ready to activate the fruit ability. Of course, Aokiji, who was concentrating on sensing Xia Luo's situation, didn't notice at that moment that his feet were actually wrapped in rocks. Chapter 38 Identity exposed. The wind is tight. Click. Just when the figures crossed each other, Aokiji, who could not avoid it with his whole body, could only choose to turn sideways. The golden dragon head bit off his arm and turned into a piece of ice scattered on the ground. The sword that had just slashed at the neck turned into chopping off the arm due to the twist of the body. Observation Haki, and due to the advanced elementalization, Xia Luo's slash did not cause any harm to him. Xia Luo, who had overshot her head, twisted her body and slashed at Aokiji again with a combination of brute force and Haki. Armstrong spin slash. Since there was no time to accumulate power, Xia Luo could only perform a relatively weak roundhouse slash. Facing the roaring shock wave, Aokiji did not dodge, but faced the shock wave head-on. Ice gloves. Aokiji's right hand turned into a huge ice fist, and the armed Haki also covered the fist, hitting the shock wave with one punch. The size of the shock wave this time was not as big as the previous Wio, and the power was also small. A lot. The point of contact between the shock wave and the fist flashed with black lightning, and the gloves made bursts of harsh shattering sounds. But the quick release of the blow was always a bit unsatisfactory for Aokiji, and his fist became stronger under the conveyance of cold air. In the end, the shock wave was shattered by a punch and turned into a strong wind and dissipated. Huh, what kind of ability was that just now? It can actually control stones to restrain, coupled with the swordsmanship of this pair of swords. No matter how I look at it, I feel that brother Xia Luo has the shadow of someone. Did you learn your swordsmanship from a certain pirate? Aokiji gently exhaled a cold breath, his eyes were full of seriousness, and he began to look at Xia Luo with scrutiny. With blonde hair, a double-sword swordsman, and the ability to manipulate objects, Xia Luo's figure gradually overlapped with the impression of the golden lion in her intelligence. In the end, he came to a fact that he really didn't want to think about. It was mentioned in Smoker's information before that Xia Luo's double swords came from Golden Lion. But at present, there may be an error in the intelligence, not just the two swords. The swordsmanship he used was most likely the swordsmanship used by the great swordsman Golden Lion. Even Devil Fruit looks so similar. Haha, who knows, maybe I studied it slowly by myself. Hearing Xia Luo's ambiguous reply, Aokiji showed a true expression. The previous information was all false, right? The corpse that drifted to the island and the two swords that were removed from his body. You are the successor of the Golden Lion, right? Whether it's swordsmanship, double swords, or the fruit ability that just bound me. You have deceived everyone in the world in Logue Town. What is your purpose of hiding all this? Faced with Aokiji's questioning, Xia Luo just shrugged, neither admitting nor denying. Regarding his question about what his purpose is, Xia Luo just wants to say that he has no purpose at all, he just wants to be happy. Haha, as expected, the next generation of evil. In this case, I can't let you go. After seeing that Xia Luo didn't answer, as if he had acquiesced to his identity, Aokiji's attitude changed drastically. Not only his attitude, but also his expression became cold. Lion Majesty Thousand Slice Valley. Now that it has been exposed, Xia Luo no longer hides and directly uses Thousand Slice Valley to slash out several sword energy. Cold air kept coming out of Aokiji's mouth, and frost spread from his feet. Ice Age. Frost covered the entire city, the ground was frozen, and a wall of ice appeared in front of Aokiji. Immediately afterwards, countless ice spikes rose up from the side of Xia Luo, but the ice spikes failed to penetrate his defense. The sharp tip was shattered when it hit Xia Luo's body. But that's not Aokiji's main purpose. The broken ice spikes did not stop, but instead grew larger and larger. Finally, Xia Luo was firmly restrained, and the ice wall in front of Aokiji was slowly approaching. In just a short while, an iceberg appeared in front of Aokiji, and Xia Luo was motionless inside the iceberg. However, the sin inflammation covering his body has not disappeared, and is constantly melting the ice. But Aokiji, who is completely serious and merciless, continuously inputs cold air into the ice Yamanaka in his hands, and the melting ice blocks switch back and forth between melting and condensation. Even the heat of sinful inflammation made Xia Luo feel cold. Is this the true strength of Marine Admiral? This level of freezing is too much beyond what it was before. We can't continue to play. Once the effect of the forceful drug has passed, we can't use Haki unscrupulously. Xia Luo anon in the ice cubes was estimating the time it would take to take the medicine. Although the effect was not written, Xia Luo could still feel the effects passing by. While it is still effective during this period, Xia Luo plans to run away. He has almost clearly seen his own strength. He can compete with Admiral, but if he really wants to keep fighting, he may not be able to withstand it. Lion Majesty. Govern Place Earth Coiling. The ice blocks that had frozen Xia Luo turned into lion heads and flew towards Aokiji with roars. The iceberg had disappeared, and Xia Luo immediately took off after escaping. Since the fruit's ability was exposed, there was no need to hide it. When Aokiji faced the lion's head made of ice cubes he made, when he raised his hand, a larger iceberg froze. Xia Luo in the air was not idle, and used several governed place earth coilings one after another, and dozens of ice sculptures bombarded Aokiji. But Aokiji, who was all elementalized, dodged it. The ice cube didn't have armament Haki attached, and it was still impossible to wrap the armed color Xia Luo through the air. TCH, it's useless. Looking down at Aokiji who had regrouped his body and was intact, his face started to look ugly. The effect of the forced drug was almost gone, and he felt that his Haki losses were about to bottom out. I haven't really hurt Aokiji yet. The opponent has top-notch observation Haki, and this attribute is at least A+. I'm afraid that armament Haki is also above A+, and I am currently only B level in terms of Haki capacity, which is simply not as good as the opponent's. No more fighting would wear him out, and the wind was blowing hard. Aokiji below saw that Xia Luo had already decided to retreat, and icicles rose from his feet into the sky. The icicle extended very quickly and would reach Xia Luo in just a moment. The ice fist of his right arm hit Xia Luo, intending to knock him down and hit the ground. Air combat is not what he is good at. Clang. Facing Aokiji's menacing punch, Xia Luo could only block it with his sword. Xia Luo vaguely felt that her strength was not as good as Aokiji's, and that her physique had not yet been fully utilized. If he could still persist in Aokiji's state before, now he has. Some lose. Aokiji's left hand also began to be covered with ice, and the other hand also transformed into a giant fist. Xia Luo's pupils widened, and he changed from using two swords to resist with one hand. The other sword directly slashed out the sword energy and cut off the icicles at Aokiji's feet. With the gravity lost, Aokiji leaned back, and the power in his hands also weakened a bit. Xia Luo pulled away and used the fruit power to fly higher. Aokiji reacted and immediately used moonwalk to catch up, but his speed could no longer keep up with Xia Luo Lion Fruit's flying speed. Chapter 39 Listen to me, thank you. First didn't expect Marine Admiral to be so powerful. Xia Luo wiped the sweat from her forehead and breathed a sigh of relief as she looked at the smaller and smaller Gaia Island below. I thought that the sinful flames could easily melt away Aokiji's frozen elements, but I didn't expect that with the help of the opponent's constant flow of cold air, the sinful flames showed signs of being frozen. Aokiji's fruit ability has definitely reached S level. I think of the original work in the battle with Akainu for 10 days and 10 nights, which changed the environment of the island. This level of fruit development must have reached the point of awakening. Are you S level awakened? It seems that my current strength is not enough. Xia Luo used her sense of sight to sense the sailboat not far away. As early as when he wanted to escape again, he had already activated the fruit ability to let the sailboat take off. The women on the boat also noticed the movement of the boat and thought of Xia Luo's idea. They all raised the anchor and lowered the sail to let Xia Luo control the sailboat and fly into the air. Just like that, Xia Luo floated towards the sailboat, and then opened the character panel of the system. Open black lens bracket host. Xia Luo close black lens bracket. Strength. A. Agility. B+. Spirit. B. Skills. Kendo B. Armament Haki B. Observation Haki B. Conqueror's Haki B. Marine 6 Styles Shave. Moonwalk. Hairspray Hand. Fire of Sin. Fruit Ability. Lion Fruit B. Talent. Steel Balloon. Equipment. Deadwood. Sakura 10. Comprehensive Evaluation. I will not comment, you can understand it yourself. Close black lens bracket. In the final confrontation with Aokiji, he had noticed that his strength was somewhat inferior to the opponent's, so he speculated that Aokiji had at least an S strength value. Others are at the A+ level, and the fruit ability has reached S level. If it hadn't restricted the opponent's movement in an unexpected way, the previous raptor splitting void might not have hit the opponent so easily. But even if it hits, it is still elementalized in advance as perceived by observation Haki. Coupled with the physical skills he had practiced fighting against Garp for many years, he felt that if he dragged on, he would be the one to suffer greater losses. That air conditioning control ability is really outrageous, and it can cover the spread of an entire city in just a moment. And the cold air sprayed from the soles of the feet when they just caught up formed icicles. This vine. The increased speed scared Xia Luo in the air. If Aokiji hadn't had an idea and cut off the icicles, causing Aokiji to lose balance in the air and use moonwalk, it would have been really difficult to escape the opponent's pursuit. Aokiji's frozen fruit ability is really tricky. Speed, attack power, maneuverability, and shaping are all highly developed. Now it is difficult for Aokiji alone to deal with it. If he is surrounded by two admirals in the future and Kizaru is the one chasing him, he may not be able to escape now. Tisk, it seems I can't just wander around during this period. Xia Luo clicked her tongue. She had never been so eager to improve her strength. It seemed that he had been too smooth sailing before, which was why he remained in such a confident state, and he was in trouble when he met a real monster. Unknowingly, Xia Luo was almost rising to the clouds. After breaking through the clouds, he saw several women standing on the sailboat looking at him worriedly. Xia Luo, are you okay? Why are all your clothes in ruins? As soon as they landed on the boat, Nami and Karina touched around. Seeing Xia Luo's miserable appearance, they thought she was injured. The other people's eyes also revealed worried looks. Robin stepped forward with some lust. He hesitated, but in the end he didn't speak. It's okay. Admiral is nothing. If he can't beat me, he can't outrun him. Xia Luo said the most cowardly words with the most courageous attitude. This made Nami and Karina roll their eyes, and the other girls with gentler personalities also laughed lightly. On the other hand, Michita looked frightened and said tremblingly. Captain Xia Luo, that's the Marine Admiral. What should we do if he brings the Marines with him next time? Ha ha ha, Then you have to work hard for me to become stronger. I won't be merciful in training later. You have to quickly develop my fruit abilities and my physical skills to become stronger. Xia Luo laughed, and the words that came out of her mouth made Michita feel suffocated. Captain Xia Luo, I. At this time, Robin stepped forward, but suddenly swallowed his words as he spoke, looking a little lonely. Seeing Robin like this, Xia Luo couldn't help but reach out and touch her head. Although Robin was older than her, she now felt like a helpless child. Robin, you are our crew member. As the captain, I protect you. Should be responsible. Quote. But in this case, Marine will also put a bounty on you, and you will become a bounty criminal. This will affect your future voyages. Like a stimulated kitten, Robin spoke with deep remorse. I have been living with Xia Luo for more than 20 days. On weekdays, Xia Luo does not show any dignity as a captain and always gets along casually. The atmosphere is also relatively relaxed and cheerful. This is the first time Robin has felt this atmosphere after being homeless for so many years. Just now, Karina and the others stood up to protect themselves immediately, which moved her very much. Even when facing the Marine Admiral, they still didn't flinch. In the end, Xia Luo actually asked them to retreat first, while she resisted the Admiral alone. Originally, when Aokiji said that he was here to catch her, he had already given up on his fate, but he didn't expect that Xia Luo would be so strong in carrying Admiral. So now Xia Luo will become a bounty criminal and be hunted by Marine forever, which also makes her fall into self-blame. It doesn't matter, you are one of us, and we will face it with you no matter what the situation is. Since Xia Luo invited you on board, I also believe that you are worthy of being entrusted to the crew behind you. Nami smiled and patted Robin's shoulder to encourage him. After spending so many days together, she also understood Robin's character. Although he was a bit sinister at times, he was not a bad person. Especially learning about Robin's past from Xia Luo made this young girl feel sympathetic to each other. They both had miserable childhoods, but at least they still had a sister named Nokigao, while Robin had nothing and had been running away. This also allowed Nami and others to quickly accept Robin's joining. Ha ha ha, actually it's useless even if you want to leave now, Aokiji seems to have discovered that I lied before. Now that my identity is exposed, I will definitely be wanted by Marine. I have been prepared for it for a long time, so you can stay here with peace of mind. As long as I am here, no one can hurt you. Xia Luo comforted Robin with a wide grin and an indifferent tone. Captain Xia Luo, thank you. Robin was filled with tears and threw herself into Xia Luo's arms, crying like a child. Phew, it's a good thing you didn't add, you are a good person, at the end. Xia Luo took a breath and patted Robin's back gently to calm her down. Umbrella plus light and heavy fruit, I really want to develop Michita into RWBY. Such an elegant fighting mode as the Umbrella Girl. Closing parenthesis. Chapter 40 Arriving at Sky Island. Okay, don't take advantage of Robin, you guy. Go back and change your clothes quickly. Nami pulled Xia Luo away and pushed him to the cabin door. As Xia Luo's comfort lasted longer and longer, Robin in her arms couldn't help but blush. She had known before that Xia Luo liked oral sex and hands and feet. But she cleverly avoided it every time, but this time she really didn't want to leave the other party's warm embrace. Nami also saw Robin's blushing look, and immediately guessed Xia Luo's actions, and immediately pulled him away to prevent Robin from being bullied. Oh, really, Nami-chan is so jealous. She's so stingy. Xia Luo shook her head regretfully, muttering complaints, and then looked at Karina again. Karina, please open the barrier to wrap the hull. We are going to take off and break through the White Sea. Before entering the cabin, Xia Luo also gave instructions to Karina. Okay, no problem. Barrier ball. Karina made an okay gesture, and then immediately opened the barrier to wrap it up. Hull. This was the first time she had opened such a large barrier, so it was still a bit difficult to use. However, the speed of liftoff was very fast. In a short while, it broke through the jet clouds and reached the White Sea located at an altitude of 7,000 meters above the sea. Then Karina also lifted the barrier. This is where Xia Luo usually hides Longyu Island, but Nami and the others. It is also the first time to come to such a high altitude. In the past, even if I went to the island, I would lower the altitude. I would not go to the island at such a high altitude. This was the first time. At this time, Xia Luo changed her clothes and walked out of the cabin again. The air is so thin. Is this Sky Island? Why is there nothing? Looking at the vast expanse of white in front of her, Karina had no time to marvel, but her expression turned ugly. We haven't reached Sky Island yet. Sky Island is 10,000 meters higher than here. You should adapt to this environment as soon as possible, Xia Luo said. How many kilometers more? Is that really a place where humans can live? Several people exclaimed, beginning to wonder if the humans on Sky Island were really human beings. Ha ha ha, I guess after such a long time, the people of Sky Island have already evolved. It has become a state that we don't know about, such as growing small wings or something. Quote. Isn't that an angel? Humans won't grow such things, right? Regarding the little information revealed by Xia Luo, several people were speechless and complained. Who knows, maybe he will have a green face and fangs. As soon as Xia Luo said these words, several timid girls immediately imagined green-faced and fanged humans, and their faces turned pale with fright. You, don't scare me, you shouldn't look like that. Nami tremblingly grabbed the corner of Xia Luo's clothes. Ha ha ha, no matter what you look like, I will protect you. What are you afraid of? Not to mention your current strength, those Sky Island people will probably not be your opponents. Seeing Nami's childish look, Xia Luo also felt funny. In the original work, Nami and Chopper, Usopp is known as the timid trio and is extremely afraid of ghosts and the like. Let's go, I'll take you through the channels through which ordinary people can enter Sky Island. Xia Luo's observation Haki was released, and soon the breath of life of a living person came from a certain direction. How do ordinary people enter Sky Island? Is there any other place on this White Sea where they can come up? Yes, somewhere in this world, there should be a road to the White Sea. Above, but I don't know where it is yet. I think only the world government and a few people know about it. Quote. In this way, the sailboat sailed all the way towards the Gate of Heaven. Xia Luo was also talking about the soaring currents that usually come to the White Sea and the secret road that can sail to the White Sea. The Sandia people from Cloud Shinobi village in the original book, who were the original residents of Gaia Island 400 years ago, did not appear along the way. Everything went very smoothly. On the way, we encountered some creatures that looked like sea beasts. They were like the sea beasts in Qinghai that were upgraded by the soaring currents. It was the first time for several people to see these creatures in the sky, and they couldn't help but marvel. Time passed, and soon everyone came to the end of Yun Road. The Gate of Heaven. What is this? Does it mean that you will reach the Kingdom of Heaven once you step on it? Is this a bad taste of Sky Island people? The corner of Karina's mouth twitched slightly, not knowing how to comment on this ridiculous name. Soon the ship sailed into the Gate of Heaven and met the caretaker here. It was because the other person's life breath was sensed by Xia Luo that he came here. Wait a minute, if people from Qinghai want to go to the Kingdom of God, they must pay 1 billion ace ancient coins. The caretaker was an old woman. When she saw Xia Luo and others coming over, she immediately stopped them. The other party's behavior of moving forward. What? A billion? What a joke. 1 billion. You are here to steal money. Nami and Karina both exclaimed when they heard the numbers mentioned by the caretaker. Haha, of course, you can choose to go through without paying the money. The old lady said with a weird smile. Really? That's great. When the caretaker said there was no need to pay, the two women immediately smiled happily. There is nothing happier than free service. Xia Luo didn't say anything when he saw this scene, nor did he stop it. This time I came to Sky Island and I was going to have a conflict with Enel, so why should I pay the ticket fee to him? Looking at the ship going away, the guard showed a strange smile and held an image shell like a camera in his hand. Soon the sailboat rushed to the end, and a road of clouds appeared in front of us. Before Nami and the others could say anything, a express shrimp lifted the boat up and then rushed into a cloud of clouds and mist. When the sailboat broke through the clouds and fog, it had arrived at Sky Island, a white sea 10,000 meters above the sea. Wow, so beautiful. Everyone who came to Sky Island for the first time couldn't help but express their inner voices. Even Xia Luo couldn't help but marvel when looking at this scene. The Angel Island in front of us is like a fairyland. The huge vines seem to have locked a cloud. It is green, and you can see some buildings inside. Everyone's eyes are deeply attracted. I'm going to go out to investigate the situation. You guys go to the island for a walk first. I'll leave this to you, Reiju. Xia Luo pulled Reiju out of her state of indulging in the scenery of Angel Island. Well, please be safe. Reiju's eyes met Xia Luo's, a hint of astonishment flashed in his eyes, but then he returned to his usual smile and nodded. The ship sailed towards Angel Island, and Xia Luo enlarged the range of perception of seeing, hearing and color. He was not worried about anything happening to the girls on the island. Except for Vivi, Makita, and Robin who joined later, everyone else's strength has grown a lot. The most important thing is that with Karina's barrier effect, nothing can hurt them on Sky Island. The priest can't do it, and neither can Enel.